Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the Hagmann report for today. It's Friday. It's the 8th day of February 2013. So this is a live broadcast. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me in studio is my co-host, my son, proud to say, Joe Hagmann. And folks are about to hear 3 hours of unbiased, uncensored news, analysis, and information that you really need to know in these perilous times. This is going to be a news-heavy show. News analysis heavy show tonight. At any rate, for the new listeners, and we're picking up new listeners all across the country, all across the world, actually. It seems like every day we're growing in size and in penetration in terms of the listenership. But we broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can find us at our home base at HomelandSecurityUS.com. And I'm very proud also to have an association with CanadaFreePress.com. That's CanadaFreePress.com. Our colleagues and neighbors to the north, perhaps more American than some Americans, more patriotic than some Americans. I want to thank Judy, Brian, and Kiko for all that they do, and for their friendship, for their fellowship, and for their hard work. Joe, welcome tonight to this Free for All Friday.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. And did you say you were proud to have me as a son, or proud that I'm in the studio? I wasn't clear on that.
I'm going to let you figure that one out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no, of course, the lineage. It's great to see too. It's great to work with family and do. And just have have the relationship we do. Let's start the program. I just want to. This is sent to me by Dan, and Dan, thank you very much. And I'm sure he sent this to other people. Remember General Eisenhower? General Eisenhower said, we want plenty of photos, so no one can ever say this did not happen. And of course, he was referring to the Holocaust. And there's a woman, perhaps you don't know her name. You've never heard her name, that is, perhaps. Irina Sendler. She had passed away May 12, 2008, at the age of 98. And this is going to kind of set the stage for tonight. This is something else here I've got. But, folks, I want you to think about this. In terms of where we are today as a country, morally, spiritually, ethically, and where our priorities are. Let me tell you a little bit about Irina Sendler. Once again, she died at the age of 98 in 2008. She died in Warsaw, Poland. But during World War II, she got permission to work in the Warsaw Ghetto as a plumbing sewer specialist. But she had an ulterior motive in doing so. Irina smuggled out Jewish infants out in the bottom of the toolbox that she carried for her job. She also carried a burlap sack in the back of her truck, and that sack was used to hide the larger children, the older children, shall I say. She kept a dog in the back that she trained to bark when Nazi soldiers let her in and out of the ghetto. The soldiers, of course, wanted nothing to do with the dog and the bark, and covered the noises, any noises made from the children, the infants, the younger kids that she was smuggling out. Do you know that during her time of doing this, she managed to smuggle out and save 2,500 children, 2,500 children. Now, ultimately, she was caught, and when she was caught, the Nazis beat her severely. They broke both of her legs, broke both of her arms, and she had wounds that took a long time for the wounds to heal. But one thing about Irina, she kept a record of the names of all the kids she had smuggled out of the ghetto and saved in a glass jar that she buried under a tree in her backyard. And after the war, she tried to locate any parents that might have survived and tried to reunite the families. I mean, even after the war, she was trying to reunite the children she smuggled with the parents. And she found that most had been gassed by the Nazis. And the kids, the children that she had helped get placed into foster homes or adopted, they would have been casualties of the Nazis had Irina not stepped in. Now think about that, 2,500 children. Now here's the point of this. In 2007, a year before she died, she was up for the Nobel Peace Prize. Wow. As well she should have been. But you know what? She was not selected. Al Gore won for a slideshow on global warming over Irina. You know, later, another politician, Barack Obama, won for his work as a community organizer for Acorn. So in memoriam, 65 years after after her exploits, we're doing our small part by letting you know about the activities of this brave woman, and even doing our small part in letting you know how the Nobel Peace Prize process works. It doesn't matter if you save 2,500 children from being gassed and then work tirelessly after being severely beaten to the point of near death by the Nazis. No. Al Gore won the Peace Prize over this brave woman. In this, we should recall 6 million Jews, 20 million Russians, 10 million Christians, 2,000 Catholic priests were murdered, massacred, raped, burned, starved, and humiliated. And in the backdrop of this, Joe, you know, Iran and others claim that the Holocaust is a myth and it's imperative. It's imperative that we understand that we cannot allow the memories to fade. And it's just an amazing thing to see Al Gore and Barack Obama winning out over this brave woman.
Well, by today's standards, they would have gave Hitler the Nobel Peace Prize for what he did in Germany and surrounding areas.
Yeah.
You know, Stalin, Mao would get the Peace Prize. Osama bin Laden, of course, would be a candidate in today's standards.
Well, or Bill Ayers, for crying out loud. I'm sure that, you know, I mean, Bill Ayers being a hero, obviously, of the Marxist communist regime we've got in power. And it's a shame to think that this woman passed away and was actually just can you imagine, folks? I mean, think about what happened, and think about this crazy standard for not being awarded the Peace Prize. 2,500 children, and had she been caught, I mean, she was ultimately caught, beaten severely, but she was lucky that she wasn't killed. And of course, the slideshow, Al Gore slideshow, global warming. So we know where the priorities of the globalist mindset are, and we're going to be going through a lot of news tonight. And but this, when I read this, I was so taken. I couldn't believe what I was reading. And of course, yeah, you know, you've got this globalist mindset. You know, the other thing too I want to mention is one of the goals of the New World Order that we're seeing is to support any socialist movement, to give centralized control over any part of the culture of America education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, and so on. Folks, this is a really significant goal of the globalists. And America is in the crosshairs and has been in the crosshairs for years. The process of increasing the size of our government is fundamental to all of the socialistic plans of the New World Order people. And we have to really understand this. The key words, health, education, welfare, these are mentioned in the goal. Social justice, of course. There are certain key words. But back in 1958, the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare had only been very recently established then. Previously, the federal government had little to do with any of those items. They were handled mostly at the state level. The major purpose of the federal budget from the beginning was to fund the military, which was to protect the citizens. Now, Woodrow Wilson was president in the early 1900s, and he was the initial instigator of increasing the size, scope, and control of the federal government. Since then, there were only two Americans who tried to reduce the centralized control of the federal government. One was President Coolidge, for what that's worth, and then Ronald Reagan, okay? And that's why Reagan is disliked a lot. I could go into the various budgets. I'm not going to do that, but the national debt back in 1958 was $276.5 billion. And of that, the health care was $1.1 billion, the education was $1.8 billion, the welfare was $2.6 billion. So health, education, and welfare, I guess, like I said, 1.1, 1.8, and 2.6 billion. Health care in 2009 had grown. Now think about this. Health care, 58, just over $1 billion. In 2009, it was $765 billion. Education, about $2 billion. In 2009, about $91 billion. And welfare, $2.6 billion. What about 2009? How about $407 billion, with the national debt in 2009 of $11.9 trillion. It goes on and on. The key here that everyone really needs to understand is the fact that the decentralization is a communist, progressive, New World Order goal. And people talk about the Green Movement, environmentalism. Environmental extremism emerged because world communism really failed. The wall came down, and a lot of, peaceniks and political activists, they moved into the environmental movement, bringing their neo-Marxism with them. They learned to use green language in a clever way to cloak agendas that actually have more to do with anti-capitalism than ecology or science. So the next time you flush your 1.6-gallon toilet or turn on your light, your curly Q light, you can understand that is rooted not in ecology, but in the centralization and the expansion of the federal government and the control over the American people. And I thought, everything that we talk about has its roots in things that were so long ago. This is not new, even though the Newsweek cover back in February of 2009, remember this, folks, at Newsweek cover, two hands shaking, two people shaking hands, just with the hands visible, with the headline, "We are all socialists now." We are all socialists now. The perks and promise of the new era of big government. And big government, the cloud-driven strategy, and so on, that is the foundation for New World Order. The goal, big government, of turning America into a socialist state is really the final step in the process. And the process is extremely difficult to reverse. The just a variety of facts and detail can be found by looking, by researching, by looking at different plans that we're going to be having up here on our website in the reading room as soon as it's finished. But the bottom line is, folks, we are headed for this New World Order. But the step to that New World Order is a big centralized government. Obamacare is part of it, or the Affordable Health Care Act is part of it.
No.
Yeah, it is.
No. What do you mean? That's just to make health care better and more affordable.
Well, that might be the case if
you the average family $20,000 a year.
Right? Well,
even the poorest families,
especially the poorest families. Remember, folks, bottom up, top down, and it's going to wipe out the middle class. That's the objective. And the priorities, the moral depravity of America. When Al Gore wins for a slideshow on global warming, and true heroes like Irina Sendler pass away and are forgotten for their bravery, despite their bravery.
Yeah,
it's an incredible world,
and we can do our part by doing what you just did and remembering her and mentioning her. When talking about, just the force of habit. When you get into talking about Obama's Peace Prize or anyone's Peace Prize,
sure,
you can always throw that in there. We can remember her for the good person she was. And good people like that usually don't get recognition, and that's probably the way they'd want it.
Well, that's true, and we have a lot of people out there. And think about this: as the times develop or evolve, as time evolves today, as we are facing tyranny, as the boot of the jackbooted thug is on our throat or on our genitals or whatever. And I'm not talking metaphorically.
No, it's not to be funny.
Yes, or it's not a metaphorical statement, it's a true statement. We can be like that woman, Irina Sendler. We can be like her because we can act behind the scenes. We can be those heroes and heroines behind the scenes. We might not even know that that's our job at this point, but wouldn't it be great to be able to emulate what she did? And I think that we can. And I think we, like I said earlier, we were born for this time. We were born to live here. We have our jobs. And Joe, you said earlier, we did a couple of radio programs today. By the way, I was on Rick Wiles today. What a great guy. What a great True News. It's up off of HomelandSecurityUS.com. If you click on the link there, and if you don't mind, please spread that around on the internet, because Rick's a great guy. Rick Wiles at True News, please spread that interview around. Only because I think that there's important information there that people need to hear. But
yeah, I learned something listening about the person that allegedly shot Chris Kyle, the sniper, famed sniper, that he did not serve combat.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't know that either. Because everyone's talking about post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
And
post-traumatic what? Office disorder? Post-traumatic, cafeteria duty? What is this?
Well, he was a mechanic, apparently, and, working with carburetors. Do they still have carburetors? No.
I understand things can happen in all elements, behind safety zones. When you're in war, no matter what purpose you're serving, if you're not on the front lines, things can happen.
Right.
But I would like to know or see this gentleman's, service duty records, and I would be very surprised if there was, aside from maybe knowing some people who were killed or injured, if there was any actual violence around him that he saw.
From what I gathered after recording that broadcast with Rick, I can't find anything that would put him in a war zone or a hostile environment. So
PTSD, post-traumatic
Okay. Watch
post-traumatic soft duty. I don't.
Yeah. It's amazing.
In about 10 minutes from C Block, Cell 31, Keith Hansen will be joining us, and I'm joking about the Cell Block thing because yesterday people were talking about that Keith Hansen was arrested. And,
yes. For allegedly having illegal firearms.
Yeah, and he's going to be calling in to clear that up. I see we have somebody else on hold, William.
We'll be getting the calls in a moment, but
probably at the top of the hour we can take your call. 9 o'clock. So if you want to hold on or call back, William, I see you, and we'll get to your call first.
But yeah, we do want to talk to Keith Hansen because Keith is a friend of the program. He's got a great radio program every Saturday out of Naples, Florida. It's, in fact, if you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com or link to it, he's got a good Facebook presence. Certainly, if he's a conservative, he's a patriot, he's a guy that I certainly would want next to me. Joe too, I'm sure, in the trenches in a war. What a great guy, and the rumor kind of sparked. I talked to Keith quite frequently, and I talked to him. I think it was Monday or Tuesday or something like that, and then when I saw the date that he was allegedly arrested, I realized that there was something wrong. But during the show, which is frankly it was extremely. It got us off track a little bit yesterday, and it was kind of a. We were very concerned about this. Yeah, we had to find out during the show, but it cleared up. Yeah. We got a lot of news we're going to get into today. Rock and roll here.
First off, I'm going to start in California.
Okay.
California trumps New York with the toughest gun law in the nation.
Yeah.
Listen to this. California announced it will pioneer the U.S. hardest gun control laws a week after New York claimed the prize. The legislation comes after a wave of fatal shootings that has been criticized by oppositions as a game of one-upsmanship with New York. The new legislation, consisting of 10 different proposals, will dramatically crack down on gun use and ownership, making California the most restrictive state in the U.S. Now, let me read you among the most significant prohibitions imposed by the new legislation is a ban on the sale of semi-automatic rifles, a ban on high-capacity magazines, those that hold over 10 rounds. The sale of such magazines was outlawed in 2000, but possession is still illegal. Comprehensive background checks for buying ammunition. Gun users will also be obliged to obtain an annual safety certificate, which requires them to take courses in gun use and safety. A ban on the sale and loan of firearms between people who know each other personally. Compulsory insurance to provide for any possible damage that may be caused of the firearm. A 5% tax to be applied to each bullet to be donated to policing in crime areas or screening treatment for children. How about this? Also, mandatory registration for ammunition sellers.
Okay, and possession of hollow points, a felony.
Yeah. Well, you know what, California? You are following in the way of the tyrants and people of history that came out on the losing end. And you will too. Just because California has a gay majority city like San Francisco and huge L.A. and San Diego, like New York, your state is full of rural, mountain men, regular people that will do everything in their power to make sure you do not get through or get away with imposing this.
What are we seeing here, folks? Ladies and gentlemen, exactly what are we seeing with these states passing these draconian laws? For the mood that we're witnessing online, I would say that, as in other places, I would say that this is not the best course of action for a state to take. I would also suspect that there would be a large population who would object very strenuously to the various parts of this. Imagine this: all magazines must be fixed to the gun, which means that they can't be removed without the use of a tool. Okay.
I mean, they're getting so, I want to say, what's the word?
Stupid?
No. Technical. They're getting so, trying to make these laws. It's like the IRS. We didn't queue up the speech that was given by a cardiologist. A doctor, a main doctor at a National Pro Breakfast. That was just great. It was a great audio. But he says it best that the IRS, any single person that they want to target, they could do it through taxes because nobody understands all the laws behind the taxes, and you can make one little mistake or forget to fill out a box or have everything put together properly, and still they will find a way, could find a way if they wanted to bring up charges and make your life make it a problem in your life.
Exactly.
And that's what they're doing here. They're trying to make it, first of all, if you don't own a gun already, now are you going to want to own one, having to go through all these things? They're trying to make it, unattractive. They're trying to make it hard to the point where now you're going to have to provide a reason to why you need one in some cases. That is not what the Second Amendment states. And the people who are implementing these laws need to be arrested and tried in a court of law.
I'm with you 100%. I cannot imagine that anyone would be willing to give up their rights, their God-given rights as delineated in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, to such draconian measures. Now, if you do that, but let's take a couple of steps back. We see New York passing a law. We see California. What is the ultimate objective here? Are we watching? Is this a case where Feinstein's bill is going to be DOA or is DOA, whatever you want to call it? So now, are we going to see individual states take up these various forms of oppressive legislation? And if that's the case, are we going to have a civil war type event between the states? Is this what's desired? And it's easy to get angry, and it's easy to laugh or to poke fun or to mock these oppressive draconian laws. But are we missing the bigger picture here? Could this very well be the objective of this administration, knowing that they're not going to be able to get the federal footing on gun bans? Let's encourage the states to do their own thing. And then what happens when you've got a state that is open and says, you know what, you can have your guns, and we're not going to put any restrictions on them. We're not going to register or demand registration for the guns. Now, what's going to happen? How is this going to work in a larger sense? Joe, I want to know this. I want to know if this is not a part of a larger plan for a civil war or a war among the states, or even could this be even a way for people to, or for states to, or for the federal government more appropriately, to foment this coming chaos? Don't forget, Obama's got an hourglass on his desk. Not really, but I can just envision this. And the sand is going through that hourglass, and he's thinking, well, I've got to get these jobs done and certain goals accomplished in a very short period of time. So he's putting the metal down to the floor and doing this. Now, but what's the end result what's going to be the end result here? I have a very bad feeling about the states passing these various laws.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be ramifications for passing these laws, whether they, which I believe they will hurt both civilian and the authorities. They're putting police officers in danger. Any police officer who would carry out these laws should be fired for not upholding their oath of office.
That's
I
right.
mean, there's so many angles to this. There are so many different ways this could play out, but regardless of which way people think it will happen, or even if you knew how it was going to happen, it's not going to change the fact that there is an all-out assault, and has been an all-out assault on the Constitution, on our Bill of Rights, on our ability to be free in what we say, free in how we move around, and freedom to defend ourselves. And this is going to continue. And we have, as you say, we are a captured operation.
That's correct.
And now we are living in an illusion of freedom inside this captured operation. And the only question now is, what can we do individually? As you say, play, your individual role. There's a Bible verse that I came across today that backs up what you are saying. But let me first ask, is Mr. Hansen going to be calling in or Skyping in?
I don't know. I believe he's going to be calling in.
Okay. Yeah, just wondering, because I'm looking for him, and I haven't seen him, but once he pops up, we'll put him on.
Yeah, and this is good because we should get an update from him. By the way, he's and I've been talking to more and more people. Folks, I don't know how you feel. I've been talking to a lot of people who are coming down with the flu. I don't know if this is a resurgence of things, but my goodness. I talked to two people today who are coming down with the flu. Keith, I think, is coming down with the flu. It's not a good thing. But now, before Keith calls in, I want to say this. I don't know whether, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been watching this or if you're aware of this, but you want to take a glimpse into our future, look at Greece. Mm-hmm. The Greeks are fighting for food, and people are saying, you know what, I never imagined that I would end up here or this would happen here. And
never imagined.
Just never thought of it. But the country of Greece is the harbinger for things to come to the rest of the world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at the GDP to debt ratio in Greece, and you look at the unemployment figures, you look at the inflation numbers, the monetary issues they've been having, we're in a much worse situation than they are.
That's right. But 5 years ago, they were enjoying big salaries, early retirements, a lot of cash on hand, and never-ending economic growth. But today, just a short time after their own financial collapse that rocked all of the global financial markets, the economic darling of Europe has turned into a frightening example of what happens when governments and their people take on more debt than they can ever hope to repay. Does this sound like America? Of course it does. This should be a warning to America, to Americans, that we have a problem.
That's right.
We're going to be getting into this a little bit more.
And also, other news we're going to be hitting on tonight, the Pentagon. It has come out now. The Pentagon leaders favored arming Syrian rebels. We are going to be getting into the California shooter, the ex-cop, what is going on with that situation. Also, John Brennan has went through CIA hearings, and he was interrupted. Don't Drone Me, Bro is a YouTube video you can go look up. We didn't upload it for the purposes. You would just hear a bunch of yelling. His speech was interrupted at least 3 or 4 or 5 times by protesters, talking about, where are the children? What about the children in Pakistan? What about the children in Yemen? What about the civilians? Is there no concern here? And they do make a point, but also we're going to get into some news we couldn't hit in previous nights. Panetta, we have an audio clip of him saying Obama was absent on the night of Benghazi. We have a new EU agreement, $960 billion budget for 2014 through 2020.
Right.
Voter fraud. One Ohio election official said he voted for Obama twice.
Yeah, and which, of course, she didn't break any laws. It wasn't intentional. It was a way to make sure that her vote counted. She sent an absentee ballot in, and she wasn't sure if that absentee ballot was going to count. No, because of that, she voted on site. Now, my question is this. Well, I guess what was the reason for the absentee ballot? Because it was my understanding that she was actually working the polls.
Yeah.
So how do you get away with that? You send an absentee ballot in, but knowing you're going to be working the polls, because you just don't show up one day to work the polls. So what's up with that? Oh, and by the way, not only did she vote twice, but so did her. I think it was her daughter or her granddaughter.
Oh yeah.
As she admitted. But it's okay. And they chucked. It was okay because she said there was no intent of fraud. But see, she's just one person. Multiply that by numerous people. But the other thing too, I got to say, is it's just not this election. It's just not the 2012 or 2008 election. It was all elections for the past, 30 years maybe?
Yeah.
All of this. No.
What we're going to do while we're waiting for Keith is I'm going to play a clip here. This is 2 days ago. Jay Carney, drone strikes have significantly limited civilian casualties.
Yes.
And then on the other side of Keith, we'll play a new reality check video from Ben Swan, Obama kill list drones and assassinating U.S. citizens. But here is Jay Carney.
Stick with us for a lot of great stuff coming up. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm going to go a little to the right here, then to the left.
Jay, thanks. I want to go back to the drone strikes. The New York Times is pointing out that a number of military and intelligence officials have expressed concern that the drone strikes might actually be creating more militants in areas like Yemen than they're killing. Is that one of the effects? Are they having the reverse impact?
Well, I would, in terms of the broader effort, I would refer you to the Pentagon, but the broader effort in terms of dealing with Al-Qaeda. But the fact is, as John Brennan and others have made clear, our counterterrorism efforts are designed, including our targeted efforts, to limit civilian casualties. And I think any fair assessment of those efforts would draw you to the conclusion that they have significantly limited civilian casualties. I think
civilians have been killed.
Well, again, I'm not disputing that necessarily, although I won't talk about specific instances. But the fact is that the methods that we use are designed specifically to avoid civilian casualties. I think it's fair to say that far fewer civilians lose their lives in an effort to go after senior leadership in Al-Qaeda along the lines that we are discussing here, as opposed to an effort to invade a country with hundreds of thousands of troops and take cities and towns. So I think that these are issues that obviously concern everyone involved in the effort to combat Al-Qaeda and to deal with the region as a whole. So that aspect of it is one that is very much in the front of everybody's minds when they make these decisions and move forward with actions.
Feeling McChrystal is quoted as saying that these strikes contribute to a perception of, quote, American arrogance. How concerned is the President about that these strikes are?
Well, I think that the President takes a very serious approach to these matters and has, as I said yesterday, two responsibilities in mind, and that is his absolute responsibility under the Constitution to protect the United States and to protect American citizens, and his responsibility in carrying out the first to do so in a way that's consistent with our Constitution and our laws and our values. And on the broader objectives, we obviously take the fight to Al-Qaeda in a way that we believe serves our national security objectives. And
there you go. It's constitutional, and they take the fight to Al-Qaeda You mean they take the weapons down? Okay.
Well, listeners, what do we learn from this? And that's a really the question at hand here. What did Jay Carney say? And don't forget, Jay Carney is the mouthpiece for the administration. What did he say here? What is he representing the administration here or this regime here? He is actually justifying drone strikes, taking the fight elsewhere. But let me give you a little tidbit. Right now, on the 8th of February, 2013, that I'm not sure I don't believe I have said this before. I do believe, I'm not sure if I said this during Rick Wiles' interview or not, but let me give you a little tidbit of information. Within the next 6 months, I could be wrong on the time. Please do not hold me to the time.
So you can expect possibly within 6 months.
Possibly within 6 months, but within a reasonable period of time. Here's what, according to a source I've got within the intelligence community, different from all the other sources that I have been working with, and we've been working together, and has given me some information about something I'm working on right now that it's not part of this, but there's a tidbit. Expect, ladies and gentlemen, expect a drone strike in the United States to take place at the hands of the United States government against a vehicle that will be traveling in a desert environment. The drone strike will be successful in taking this vehicle out, and the narrative will be, we, the government, have kept one of our cities safe. Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Kansas City, don't know which city, but because of this drone strike, we've kept America safe. And the purpose is to condition the public that it's okay for drone strikes to occur on U.S. soil. Now, I'm not sure, Joe, if I've said this before, because I've talked about this a number of times. This information came to me a couple of months ago, and I've actually been waiting to hear, a meeting out of the White House saying, well, there was a drone strike necessary in this country because of a threat to one of the cities. In fact, I had even thought about this for the Super Bowl, but it didn't come through.
I saw an article where, in this case of this ex-cop Dorner, that is something we're going to talk about. And for those of you who don't know, I'll give you a little background right now. There's an ex-cop waging war on other people, other police officers.
I thought they killed him. Or no. Did they kill him? I thought he's dead. I thought they got him.
Not the last time I saw. I could be wrong. No, he is still out on the loose.
All right.
He put out a manifesto. He is a pro-gun control, pro-Obama person, apparently.
And that manifesto, remember that word.
Manifestos.
Remember those. Remember the word manifesto, because that comes in to play with some of the things we're going to be talking about tonight. The word manifesto is extremely important.
So this former LAPD officer with military training vowed war against other men in blue Thursday, leaving one officer dead days after he allegedly killed two other people and began a wave of retribution for being fired, police said. Christopher Jordan Dorner, a 270-pound former Navy lieutenant who had professed his venom against LAPD officers, he claimed to ruin his life by forcing him out of his dream job. And I read one of the manifestos published that was out yesterday. I read that last night.
All right.
And people in the chat room are commenting about this being a psyops. And
it's more than that.
Yeah, the point I wanted to make was, will this be the first drone strike of an American? Will they use a drone to say they took this guy out? And the LAPD was asked this, and they denied to comment.
They declined comment on this?
Yes, they did.
Well, so that, okay, right there, folks. Remember how the issue of drones was broached here. there are going to be 30,000 patrolling the skies. No, it should have been there are, and we're just letting you know now. And of course, they're not armed. Well, no, they are armed. Don't even believe me. There are armed drones flying over American skies. Now, you might say, well, the government didn't say anything about these.
What do you mean?
Well, in fact, drone use is very limited. And of course, don't forget, we just had a Seattle, I think, just passed this law where they're not allowed to use drones over Seattle.
How about this article from January 30th? Drones to watch over U.S. highways. How about the FAA bill allowing 30,000 drones to police the U.S. skies? How about police?
Isn't that something?
Departments individually gaining, not only police departments, media, and other people gaining access to drones and using them.
Yes.
Yeah, this right here, drones to watch over U.S. highways. Drones could help human workers safeguard the 4 million miles of U.S. highways crisscrossing the country. The flying robots could inspect bridges, roads, and survey lands with laser mapping and even alert officials to traffic jams or accidents.
Isn't that what we have skycopters for? Or
Isn't that what all the million cameras per mile on the highways for?
Yeah. And plus we have other technology that could take care of that. So you've got to look at the dual purpose technology and say what's going on. Yeah. Another thing we're going to be talking about too, I just want to get this in here because folks remember ACTA, PIPA, CISPA, all those acronyms for Internet control. Remember that? Remember how everyone kind of clapped and applauded and said, "Oh, we're okay." Actually, through our objection to these internet laws, we won. Well, guess what? CISPA, CISPA, that's the acronym, is back, and not only is it's back, but it's back with a vengeance. Now, yesterday, Congressman Mike Rogers from Michigan, he's a Republican, if that means anything, and Dutch Ruppersberger, he's a Democrat now. Again, not that means anything. Announced before the House that they are planning to revive the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protect Act, CISPA, and work closely with the White House to ensure its passage sometime later this year.
They're working also with the United Nations. The United Nations,
yes.
The use of Internet for terrorist purpose is from 2012. They released it, and I find it interesting. This quote is the foreword of the document, the PDF, 158-page PDF. The Internet is a prime example of how terrorists can behave in a truly transitional way. In response, states need to think and function in an equally transitional manner. And you know who said that? Security General of the UN, Ban Ki-moon.
Well, I'll tell you something.
Ban Ki-moon is a war criminal.
I
mean, the book J. Griffin wrote on the UN.
Right.
What was it? Something Master. It was very good, and half the book is dedicated to what this Ban Ki-moon did and how the UN's played a role in it. Also,
but wait, we're not allowed to talk about that because if we are anti-UN, we are now terrorists, potential terrorists.
I passed that in line a long time ago.
Yeah, as we've been told.
A lot of news on currency wars tonight. Also,
we need to talk about this a lot. And
I want to thank somebody. I think it was Jack for emailing me a bunch of financial information, which we still haven't gone through all of it, but it needs to be looked over, and we're going to put it into an article format and definitely have something next week or maybe even this weekend on putting this all together, because Venezuela has devalued its currency today and by 47%, okay?
Right.
Venezuela, this is the headline, sharply devalues its currency, and the title was Currency Wars. Venezuela's government announced Friday that it is devaluing its country's currency, a long-anticipated change expected to push up prices in the heavily imported economy. Officials said the fixed exchange rate is changing from 4.30 bolivars to the dollar to 6.30 bolivars to the dollar. The devaluation has been widely expected by analysts in recent months, though experts had been unsure whether the government would act while Hugo Chavez remained out of sight in Cuba recovering from cancer surgery. Also, this on AOL News, Europe, week ahead, currency wars at G20. Currency wars are likely to dominate the G20 meeting in Moscow, even if most countries will try not to make any explicit accusations. Dow Jones, Andrea, and Market Watch's Sarah look at whether the Eurozone is joining the war and whether Japan is trying to step back. Also, this out of the Wall Street Journal yesterday, yes, there is a currency war, and yes, it's going to linger. Investors and economists concerned about the current central bank battle to weaken their currencies might want to get comfortable because the so-called currency war isn't ending anytime soon, says James Rickards, a veteran financier and author of the 2011 book Currency Wars, The Making of the Next Global Crisis.
What does this all mean? Well,
we know what they want to do, and they are going towards
piggyback that with the Greece information.
And a clip we played not too long ago where somebody talked to one of the top Obama advisors and said, yes, we're going to kill the dollar.
Well, they've already done this. Actually, they've already have the solution for the devaluation and ultimately the demise of the dollar. So the last G20 summit meeting, they created this basket of currencies which are going to be put into place. And ultimately, and people, this is where a lot of disconnect comes in. You remember how the sun never sat on the British Empire. Remember that period of history. Well, that's coming back because they're going to need, when all the dust settles, and you might say, well, this doesn't make sense because the UK is in some straits too, financial straits as well. But it's my understanding, based on research and what I've been told by people in the know, that this new currency that's going to replace the US dollar, the basket of currencies, where are they going to superintend it from? It's going to be from that square mile in London, in the UK, that has all the banks. It's got the royalty, and it's got the, dare I say the word, Illuminati, those people, the people that control the world. And it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but somebody's going to have to step up and be responsible for handling this basket of currencies, and it's going to be the British Empire. So once again, America will find ourselves being subjugated to the British, and perhaps that might even make Piers Morgan Secretary of the Treasury. I don't know, but maybe that's why he's in the country. Of course, I say that tongue in cheek, but no, the financial situation, the economic collapse. And folks, I did write an article which has found its way to various financial websites and been confirmed by financial websites about the financial crisis, or actually the put options. Did we mention this last night, Joe? About the put options?
No, we had guests on last night.
Or the night before?
I know we did mention it. I'm not sure what context we did.
Okay. I'll just go over this briefly. Joe and I are regular people, and most people...
No, we're aliens.
Well, that too. But reptilian, shapeshifters. Look, and most people listening to this program, regular people, we don't have a lot in the stock market, and we don't have a lot of investments. And I mean, for me, it's like a spectator sport that's rigged anyway. But the information that we have is that, and we don't have back any insider channels of information that would permit you to make, we'll say, $100,000 in the span of 10 months from a single $1,000 investment in cattle futures, by the way. Like, wait, who did that? Oh, that was Hillary Clinton back in 1994. She invested $1,000 in cattle futures, and 10 months later, bam, $100,000 she had in her portfolio. But that's futures. But here's a little tidbit, folks. Watch this, because this happened right before 9/11.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about this, but continue.
Okay, I'll just be very brief here. Remember, right before 9/11, there were put options, which is basically a bet that a stock's going to take a dive.
Yeah, and I don't have the paperwork with me, but I have all the figures on the paperwork, and I remember there was a 600 and some % increase on put options placed on the American Airlines and United Airlines with the 48 hours prior to 9/11 happening.
Well, exactly. So put options are, bottom line, the only thing you really have to know is put options, and I'm going with some very basic terminology here, and perhaps not technically 100% technically accurate, but here's the deal. There were some put options that were purchased here very recently. In fact, this past week, an anonymous trader bought 100,000 put options on the EFT, which is an acronym for an exchange-traded fund, and one commonly exchange-traded fund is XLF, which is really, it's a group of funds that acts like a barometer for the stock market. If it goes down, if these go down, for example, the stock market's going to go down. Well, such trades are common. It's usually common, however, in like blocks of 500 trade options. Well, in this case, it's 100,000, not 500, but 100,000. So 500 contracts is really kind of like at the highest usually. Well, there were people that took notice this past week of this put options of 100,000 orders, 100,000 put option orders, or 200 times the high volume of 500. Now, this becomes even more curious when one considers that the trader is betting that the market is going to take a significant hit at a time specific. In other words, these put options, which were purchased, were dated for April 20th and 25th. And for those keeping track of things like that, this is right around Hitler's birthday in the spring. Or no, is it spring equinox in April? Yeah, I could be wrong. No, that's June, isn't it?
Spring equinox is June.
March. Okay, whatever. Anyway, Hitler's birthday, just for those keeping track of things like that. So here's what we've got in a nutshell. Normally, when trade volume is about 500 at the most, somebody comes in and buys 100,000 put options. Now, this at a time when everyone's saying, hey, the stock market, it's going up great, it's going great, it's going good. So this makes the buy or this bet a little bit curious. So I did contact, just for clarification, I contacted a friend of mine who's in the stock market. And I asked him, I said, what's up with this? And this guy's got 25 years of experience. He's got, anything about the stock market, he knows. So I said, what's up with this? Have you heard about this? And so on. Should we be expecting a stock market crash? And of course he said, you can't use that word, crash, not here. Shh, be quiet. Well, he said this. It would seem to me that somebody knows something. I've never seen anything quite like this, of course. And then we talked about the put options before 9/11, and he said, it looks kind of like that. So here's what we have. We've got somebody betting that the stock market is going to take a big hit by the end of April. Now, what's on the line for this bettor, if you will, this person making the bet? Just $11 million. So if that person, let's say he's totally wrong, or he or she or it or whoever made the bet is totally wrong, what's it cost him? About $11 million. Maybe chump change. I don't know. To me, I can't justify an $11 investment in lottery tickets. So I don't know. But anyway, I did want to bring that up because I think that's a very important story that it is on Canada Free Press and it's on HomelandSecurityUS.com if you want to share that article with others. Yeah,
what we're going to do right now is we are going to play a quick clip from Reality Check.
Did we lose Keith?
He has not gotten in touch with us. You call him on the break, and we're going to play this.
Maybe the SWAT team's going to.
We're going to play this quick clip from Ben Swan, go right into a quick commercial, and come right back with your phone calls. and more news. So
alrighty.
Here's Ben Swan, a new video just put out, Obama's kill list, drones, and assassinating U.S. citizens.
It is a story that has made national headlines in the last 24 hours, but a story Reality Check has been telling you for nearly 2 years. NBC obtained a copy of the Obama administration's rules for assassinating U.S. citizens. What President Obama told Ben about this kill list in a face-to-face interview. The details in a Reality Check you will not see anywhere else.
But can the office of the president play the role of judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to terror suspects, even U.S. citizens? A 16-page memorandum has been leaked to NBC News. It explains the process the administration has been using for its assassination program. The Justice Department memo concludes that the U.S. government can order the killing of American citizens if they are believed to be senior operational leaders of al-Qaeda or an associated force. And that is the case even if there is no intelligence indicating they are engaged in an active plot to attack the U.S. The memo says in part, quote, the condition that an operational leader present an imminent threat of violent attack against the United States does not require the United States to have clear evidence that a specific attack on the U.S., persons, and interests will take place in the immediate future, end quote. So in short, in order to be labeled an imminent threat, you're not required to actually be an imminent threat. It was in September of last year when I had the chance to interview President Obama one-on-one. And when I did, I asked him specifically about this so-called presidential kill list.
How do you, as president, or any president for that matter, regardless of party or person, utilize that power to assassinate even U.S. citizens?
Well, first of all, you're basing this on reports in the news that have never been confirmed by me, and I don't talk about our national security decisions in that way.
Well, as it turns out, it's not just the president himself making these decisions, because the memo explains an informed, high-level official of the U.S. government may determine that the targeted American has been recently involved in activities posing a threat of a violent attack, and there is no evidence suggesting that he has renounced or abandoned such activities. That memo does not define the words recently or activities. As we've told you a number of times, these drone strikes have already killed American citizens living overseas, including Muslim cleric Anwar al-Awlaki, who, as I mentioned to the president, was a U.S. citizen. He was born in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And while the government claimed that he was a threat to the United States, no evidence of that threat was made public. Al-Awlaki was not afforded trial, nor was he charged with treason, which does not require him to be in the country. But he wasn't the only American targeted by the assassination program. 2 weeks after al-Awlaki was killed, the U.S. used a drone strike to kill al-Awlaki's 16-year-old son, Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki. That 16-year-old was killed while at a family barbecue, and he too was a U.S. citizen born in Denver, Colorado. So what this means for you is that there is no clause in the Bill of Rights that suspends due process because of fear. Every time I talk about this issue, I get emails from people saying that Anwar al-Awlaki deserved to die. But I am yet to hear one reason, just one reason, why his 16-year-old son needed to die. The truth is, no one has legitimately answered that question. Not viewers, not this administration, not even the president himself. And that is exactly the problem. And that is Reality Check.
You can find the sources for the story posted on our website, fox19.com. And if you'd like to make your voice heard on the story, you can head over to Ben's Facebook page. You can find it by searching Ben Swan.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your #1 priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
Hold on to your seat. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Friday, February 8th, 2013. We have so much news to get into. We probably won't cover it all today, but we're going to be taking your calls also as well. Hold on, I'm getting
let me just say this, ladies and gentlemen, too. You know, with the rapid movement of the news and all the white noise and all the headlines and everything taking place, you can rest assured if anything of significant happens during the weekend, we would have a special broadcast, and we would, you can find information, for example, on our website, homelandsecurityus.com. So you never have to feel alone or abandoned or wondering what's going on, unless, a nuke drops on our heads, which is highly unlikely. We will be here reporting the news in real time and on the weekends, because that is what we're prepared to do. We have to stick together, and of course, and we have to get the truth out there. So just want to make sure that everyone is on board with that and understands that. So just always watch the website if you don't mind. And we are, as I've said many times in the past, we are populating the server with a lot of information, books, PDF files, documents. So we are establishing a resource library. The things we talk about on our program, you can go to our resource library, which is not done yet. It will be done, I'm hoping, this weekend, because there's hundreds of megabytes of information, of just text.
Yeah, I think I added about 100 more today.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a place where everyone can go, from the MIAC report, just as an example. If we reference MIAC report, we reference the West Point PDF. You can go right there, grab it, download it, save it, look at it. It's going to be there for you. And then we're going to have also a separate page of audio, video type of links that we're populating as well. So we're expanding our site by about roughly 7 or 8 times its current size. But it's going to be a one-stop shop for everyone. And these are documents issued by the government, created by the government, or actually via your tax dollars. But they will give you the ability to grab and go, so to speak. So you'll have that ability.
All right, we're going to go to the phone.
Yeah,
we're going to go to area code 708 first, and then to William. 708, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Good evening, Joe and Doug. My name's Jerry. I'm from Chicago. In fact, you were talking about the manifesto. You remember the Unabomber? He lived about 12, 13 blocks from where I'm at right now. But
wow.
I just wanted to, guys, I've been listening to you guys, but I never caught you guys live until tonight. I wish you guys, when you start your show, would say something about where you could be found live, websites. In fact, I'm on some kind of blog talk radio or something like that. That's where I picked you up.
Right.
I just wanted to call and tell you guys do a great job and everything else like that, and maybe give you get a little bit off my chest. I mean, I'm thinking about a lot of this stuff, and I've only been awake for about 3.5, maybe 4 years. And I'm looking back at the Ruby Ridge.
Well, welcome to the party.
Oh, go ahead.
I just have to say, welcome to the party. Kind of in the spirit of Bruce Willis. Welcome to the party, pal. Being awake is pretty awesome. When you wake up and realize, wow, things are not as they appear. I don't want to take your time. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, well, hey, thank you for welcoming me to the party. I was going to tell you, you guys, I've listened to Steve Quayle. I love him when he's on your show. That's the first time I ever heard him. Greg Evenson, Russ Dizdard. Oh, boy, you guys have a lot of great guests and everything. And like I said, I could only find you on YouTube, and they were usually 6, 7, 8, 10 weeks old at the newest. So I'm glad I found this website. I'm going to save it. But I was just coming across something over the last 2 weeks and thinking about it, and I says, the ATF raided Randy Weaver. They set him up. They raided they killed his wife. They killed his son. Killed his dogs. And then within a year after that, you had Waco, Texas, where they went in there and they murdered 83 people, and these people had more than enough opportunities to stop David Koresh, bring him in for questioning by himself, but they had to make a big scene out of it. So I'm thinking they let the American people know that, hey, this is how they handle you if you get out of hand. And if you remember, just 2 years prior to that, they let the world know with Desert Storm, this is how we handle you if you get out of line as a country, as a monarchy, as a presidency, as an elected official, as a CIA infiltrator that we put in. This is how we handle you with Iraq. And I'm thinking, we had this recent stuff with Sandy Hook, and before that it was a Sikh mosque, and before that it was Aurora. And let's face it, they're real sloppy with the Sandy Hook. I mean, there's all kinds of loose ends that just don't add up. There's a lot of loose ends with 9/11, and I think they're playing the trump card. They're letting everybody know we're going to do as we want, when we want, how we want. There is no more Constitution unless we say there's a Constitution, and we'll tell you what's in it. And I'm glad I'm awake, but I'll tell you what, it's a lonely walk. I mean, nobody.
It is.
You look at. Go ahead.
Let me address a couple of things. I apologize for the delay. That's kind of nothing we can do about it. But let me address a couple of things. First of all, what you said, and we don't really repeat this enough, but all of our programs can be found on HomelandSecurityUS.com. That's HomelandSecurityUS.com. And if you click on the archive on the right-hand side, there's a couple of different things. The RSS feed will give you all of our programs, and the other, the top menu will give you the most recent programs with the definitions or not definitions, descriptions. Okay, that's I wanted to make sure you knew that so you can find us. Blog Talk Radio is our primary platform, although we are simulcast on the Christians United Broadcasting Network or a couple of radio stations, but none in your area, in the Chicago area. Now, that said, the lonely walk, I've got to comment on this because, you sound like you were like I was, up until a number of years ago. You believed everything that you heard, and then just tell me a little bit, because I'm interested in this. What woke you up?
Wow. Well, I'll be honest with you. I got into a little bar altercation back, let's see, that would have been 1982. Okay, and it was over a broken telephone glass on a telephone booth that I did not break. But because I look like one of the three people that broke it, and I know the guy who did it, and I was standing there, and after the cops put the handcuffs on me and everything else like that, I said, "Officer," I said, "I did not do this." I said, "If we just wait 1 minute, I'm sure the guy who did it will admit to doing it, and then he will take the fall and everything else like that." With that, I got a billy club shoved in my gut so far, I didn't catch my breath until about 3 miles later when I was going into the lockup cage. I was fingerprinted, I was booked, everything else like that. And the sad thing is the guy who did it was in the National Guard. It was my girlfriend at the time's brother who didn't want to get in trouble with the National Guard. So, and he didn't even hang around to bail me out or anything else like that, And the following day was Father's Day. So to call home on Father's Day when all your brothers and sisters and in-laws are all over with their kids, to say, can somebody come down and bail me out for $100 for a broken glass that I didn't do? Well, make a long story short, when it all went to court and everything, this guy had already taken care of it with Illinois Bell. He went to court and he stood right up in front of the judge. He says, Judge, I wasn't man enough at that time to, take responsibility for this, and this guy got in trouble, and he didn't do it. And it was so. And as I was walking out, the cop just said, hey, sorry about that. And I said, sorry about what? Throwing me in jail, hitting me with a billy club after I was handcuffed? I said, give me a break, man. And this was 30 years ago. And that's kind of what set my opinion and everything. I remember having an argument with my dad one time. Not an argument, a discussion. But we're German, so everything we talk about, we get loud, and it should be an argument.
Well,
but anyway,
I know that.
So anyway, I was telling him that our media is manipulated in this country. And he says, well, it's manipulated in Russia. I says, well, yeah, okay, I can agree with that. Russia and maybe Germany before that. I says, but it definitely altered in this country, and they only tell us what we need to hear and no more. You have to search for that information. And he says, well, if you don't like it here, go move to Russia. So, okay, I dug in my heels and everything else like that. Now, I used to drive a truck from 82 till about 90 over the road. And I used to cut through Pennsylvania a lot. I used to go to Buffalo, Albany, Syracuse, New York City, Boston, all over the place. Every time I went through Ohio, as soon as I crossed the Indiana border to the Pennsylvania border, it was always the same thing. I wonder what communist cop is going to pull me over and accuse me of speeding. And I used to go through Ohio at 54 miles an hour because I know they're all communist cops out there. And every time I got a ticket, and I got 11 tickets through that state, every one was for 67 and a 55, every single time. Give me a break. And some of the trucks, they wouldn't go 67 miles an hour if they were in Georgia Overdrive going down the biggest hill in Ohio. So I caught on maybe a little bit more and more back then, but recently, I think I just told my mother this maybe about a year ago, and I just made the comment. I says, how would you like to wake up one morning and then come to the conclusion that everything you've been taught your entire life has been a lie? We were taught it in the books. We were taught it in the TVs and everything, the television. Oh, geez, turn off the television. Oh, but everything, I mean, is a total fabrication. And I says, I can't blame my parents because my parents were brought up that way and they were lied to too. When I tried to explain to them, when my dad was still alive, when I tried to explain to them that the 1929 Depression in this country was set up by a handful of guys to watch everybody else fall. And my dad's parents lost their home because they were in margin on the stock market. So, I mean, and they would look at you with just a blank stare like deer in the headlights and not know what the heck you were talking about. And I heard this at dinner every single day growing up at the dinner table about the Depression. So you learned how to go without. And, to this day, if I need something, I might go to the store and look at it, everything, go home, research it. Do I really need it? Well, let me see. Can I get by a little while longer without it? And then finally, when you make the decision to go buy it, you better use it. And these are things that I learned from my parents. Hard work, you go out there and you make as much money as you can, and you save for things that you want, and you don't buy the frivolous crap. They got everybody today in this world. You got to have a new car every 5 years. You got to wear the best Jordache jeans that are out there for $129 a pair. You got to have this. You got to have that. It's all full. You can get by and do your job every day with secondhand tools from a garage sale or from the flea market or something like that. You don't have to have everything brand new, and then you got sales tax taxed onto that too. So
it was. Back to my original question. But was there one event that you could point to? You've given us a good history, but for example, with respect to current events, is there one thing that you could point to that said, man, this is wrong, this seems wrong, and I'm going to research it, and bam, you found out that everything's a lie? Because, is there one thing of late, perhaps, or what was the one instance that really kind of hit you upside the head and said, everything's a lie?
You know what? I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question before. I paid very close attention to the 2008 election, Barack Obama and John McCain. And I never even knew anything about Ron Paul because it wasn't out on the media, and I wasn't that slick with a computer at the time to even look them up. And then I noticed after this guy was in office that he didn't keep not one of his campaign promises. He was going to get our guys back out of Afghanistan and Iraq. He was going to close Gitmo. He was going to do this. He was going to do that. Instead, he ran off on 25 other tangents that he's trying to fulfill, and he never mentioned them about it in his campaign. So for the first time in life, I paid attention to who I was actually going to vote for. And I've been one of these people that have voted all the way up until this election I voted, but I think this was my last one because I now realize that votes don't count. So that was it 4 years ago, I would say.
That's an interesting way to wake up. I got to tell you that indeed. I understand that, and that's a very kind of a left-handed way of waking up. But it's an effective way, very, very effective. So I'm glad to know that. This journey that we're all on, you, me, Joe, listeners, look, we have to really separate the fact from the other stuff.
The fiction, the propaganda.
So, boy.
The best way to do that, as I was talking earlier with someone, is to make sure you have a strong foundation, and we suggest and we hope everyone builds that foundation with a relationship with the Lord and His Word, and then takes everything else, any other bits of information from anyone else.
Yeah, because we're dealing with a lot of demonic stuff out there, really demonic stuff. So it's easy to get sidetracked and twisted around. So, but man, interesting story. Interesting life you had too, for crying out loud.
Well, thank you. You know what? I've had a good, interesting life, and I've been lucky. I mean, there's been a few times where I should have bent over and kissed my rear end goodbye. But I didn't. I mean, almost drowned in a canoe accident. I watched the side of my trailer come down I-90 through Cleveland as somebody cut me off in a snowstorm and things like that. Real hairy things and situations where brakes went out going down Snowshoe Pass. I forgot what route that was, going up into New Jersey. If you didn't want to stay on 80. But I mean, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had some situations and everything else like that. Interesting life, fulfilled, I would say. And I've always tried to walk on the correct side. Okay, where it was fair and everything else like that. Never took advantage of, this is going to put more money in my pocket if I find this guy's wallet and I don't return it. No, I returned 4 wallets in my life. Never took a reward for any one of them, unless you consider somebody, hey, buy me a beer, we'll call it even. Okay, that was about the most I would accept for a return in a wallet, because my theory has always been, what if I lose my wallet? I'd sure as heck like somebody to return it to me, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way. So, you're always fair about things. I've always helped people. In fact, my sister one time said, hey, don't ever say anything bad about my little brother, Jerry, because the only bad thing about him is he's too stupid. He'll give you the shirt off his back, And these are nice things. So I know I'm walking the correct side, and over the last couple of years, I have been becoming more and more spiritual. I was born and raised Catholic, and I got out of the Catholic religion maybe 9 years ago because I didn't care for it. There was something about it; it just didn't register with me. I don't like the idea of the Archdiocese and the Vatican covering up all these pedophile priests and everything else like that, and hiding them and moving them and paying people off. I don't care for it. And the sad thing is I got an uncle that's a retired pastor in the Catholic Archdiocese, so hope he's not listening.
Oh.
But,
well, look, my friend, we got to cut you loose. Look, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Glad you found us live.
Yeah, and we got a bank full of calls we got to get to, but look, keep plugged into our show and call back in.
HomelandSecurityUS.com. You can go there. Our emails are on that page, and you can send us an email if you'd like. talk off air and talk further.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you so much for finding us.
Thank you guys, and God bless you both, and I hope you can stand the weather.
Hey, we're going to give it a try. You too, my friend.
Thanks for the call.
Let's go quickly to a caller named William. William, you are on the air with Doug and Joe Hagmann. William,
about 6 minutes before.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get this done in about 6 minutes. William, you're up.
Hi, you guys are great. First of all, I'd like to say that this is about the best radio show for the actual true info that I've ever come across. You guys are very accurate. Very suspiciously, that voice, and I am a very good at voice recognition, that I could only say that person was a person named Scrimrunner on YouTube. And the fact that nobody knew that I was going to call in and that voice came up very much is suspicious. First of all, if I could cover...
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. And I apologize. You're going to hear a delay. But there's going to be a delay, and it's going to almost sound like overtalk. Don't worry about that. Yeah, it's real screen calls, so we have no idea who is who. But
right.
But go ahead, sir.
But very good info. First of all, I've grown up in agency or company all my life, and we've been coming forward about that. Everything you said about what's being put in place is very much real, and a lot of people have been trying to put out a lot of warning prior. You were talking about the cop killer guy at large, Christopher Dorner. I have a screenshot actually of him trying to very suspiciously out of nowhere friend me on Facebook back in January or December around that time. Very odd. I didn't fulfill the request, and very strange. It's just he's an agency worker apparently, and yes, they love to push that manifesto analogy and that perception. That is very much an agency thing that they like to do. Let
me get this straight. Hold on a second. Don't pass by here quickly. You're telling me that this guy that's on the loose attempted to friend you on Facebook?
Yeah, I actually still have the screenshot, and I still have the friend request.
Okay. Did you know him, or what was the reason for the attempted friend request?
I have no idea. No, I never knew him. I never met him. It was out of the blue. Something didn't sit right, and I documented it. I posted that actually a couple hours before your show, sir. Interestingly, on Facebook. Where? And that it was just very suspicious, and that came up in Yahoo, and I'm like, oh my God, I recognize that name. So very
if you don't mind, sir, William, if you don't mind, since you have posted this publicly, if you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, which is our website, HomelandSecurityUS.com, if you click on either Joe or I, our email address or names on the left-hand side of the column, if you want to send us a copy of that, since you posted a copy of that screenshot, we'd like to take a look at that.
Yeah, I'll send you the email.
I will.
All right, good, because
fantastic.
The fact that you would actually screenshot a friend request because it didn't sit well with you is rather interesting to me. But
yeah,
okay,
it seems out of the blue, but that is actually being that that was very suspicious. That he was a cop and stuff. That he had a little bit of info about being a police or something in Army. It was being the industry, being what I'm involved in. They've been trying to hang the Fukushima disaster and the Japanese earthquake on me because I wrote about it 4 years before it happened. And, I had to post, I was going through a tough time, and I was being berated by people in agency, and they didn't quite know how to handle me, and they were going on information thinking that I was going to go start spewing about stuff, which I only did because I was being bothered. And so, I very discreetly didn't write too much, but I wrote about, I titled it Japan Earthquake 2011. I wrote that it's been validated by everybody and their brother in 2007. And I talked about the reactors blowing up. I talked about what the paper read. and this goes into very unbelievable territory. And it's very true that the government and the industry, CIA, DOD, Navy, have been teleporting around in time travel for 40 years now, and that is just fact. There's no way to impress really on people as to prove it, but that's what we're all about. There are things in place that, based on time travel intel, based on a lot of things. Why did they get rid of missiles all of a sudden? Nuclear missile, nukes and missiles. Because, when you can teleport a nuke in, you don't exactly need take 20 minutes to get their missile. You just don't. It just takes up money, and it's money better spent. When you can do an energy to mass energy to mass event like a scalar, do a longitudinal wave and a negative crossover section, and make pure energy become mass inside of mass and disassociate, say, World Trade Center steel iron. You really don't need much of anything else, for the most part.
William, you brought up a couple of interesting points. The latter point, the most recent point about the energy with respect to the World Trade Center is very interesting. Here's what we'd like to do. By the way, we're going to have on the 21st of this month Dr. Judy Wood to talk about the World Trade Center attacks in depth. Okay, but what we'd like you to do, William, is to not only send us a screenshot of that friend request, but also send us the link where we could find or where you have published the Japan earthquake 2011 back in 2007.
I just posted
we'd like
that.
To take a look at that as well.
Good. I just posted in the chat. I see get off the private chat with you. It defers to whisper. How do you do that?
I'm sorry. You're cutting off.
Oh, I can't seem to. I posted it publicly earlier. I can't seem to get off the whisper aspect of talking to you guys on the chat. I'm trying to.
I'm not sure, but what we can do, William, is we'll make sure it gets on the chat. If you send it to us via email, we will post the link on the chat. If you, okay, but yeah, we've got. I tell you what, we're at the bottom of the hour. We do want to talk with you a little bit further. Get a hold of us, please, via email, off air, and we'll go through some things together because you have some interesting information. But at this point, we're at the bottom of the hour. We've got to take a short left turn here. I want to thank you for your call, William.
Yeah,
stay in touch, and I appreciate that. All right.
Thanks, William. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Yes, it's going to be a very interesting dialogue, I have a feeling. All right. Now,
we have a call that you...
yes. Yeah.
Area code. I don't remember for whatever reason.
No, for crying out loud, 804.
Oh, okay.
804.
I see it right here.
All right. Let's bring Marianne on. Marianne's a friend of the program. Folks, just to give you a little idea, Marianne's a very good friend of the program. She has done a lot for the program in terms of providing a lot of spiritual guidance. And these days, the spiritual guidance is not New Age. It's not it's not looking for unnecessary things. It's practical things. And earlier today, I talked to Marianne, and she said, "You know what? I'd like to offer a little bit of information, if I may." And I said, "You certainly may." So with that, I want to bring on Marianne. Marianne, are you with us?
I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Oh, glad we can hear you just fine, and very, very glad to have you on. Marianne, what's on your mind?
Okay, your cyber warriors, which I've been reading about, and we've on your article, and we've been seeing the results of some of that in the chat room, and and then also the federal agents that interfere with your transmissions and so on.
Right.
Of course, that's very irritating, and we're upset about that because we want to get the truth out. We want people to pray. We want people to be prepared in practical ways. We want people to be prepared emotionally. And also, when people pray, things can change. So we want to get the word out, and of course, it's hard to deal with these things, but we need to remember that these cyber warriors and these federal agents, most of them are probably what the communists used to call useful idiots. They're people who really believe in the system that they're promoting. They think that we're the bad guys. They've been deceived. They're being used. Some of them may really be bad guys themselves, nasty guys with bad agendas, but most of them probably, especially the cyber warriors, most of these are young people. They're kids. They don't understand what's really going on. They haven't had a decent education in the public school system. They haven't been taught the truth since they were in kindergarten. A lot of what they've been taught is just propaganda. So they don't understand what's really going on. And I think it's important for us in our attitude towards them to see them as people and individuals and not as, monsters, bad guys, scuzzballs or something like that. We need to see these are men and women with families to support, somebody they trusted taught them these things, and for them to have their eyes opened. It was hard for us. It took me years, and it was a very painful process. And you can imagine what it would be like for them to find out that they're on the wrong side and that they've been taught the wrong things.
Exactly. And folks, Marion and I had a conversation off air before the show, and it was not until that conversation that I was that she made me realize what she just said. These are people that are being used for a specific agenda, but it's easy to look at these, to demonize people, and to look at them as almost a subhuman, when in fact, they could be your brother, for example, or your cousin, or your friend. And it's important to rehumanize in our mind. These are real people. These are people that are doing a specific job. Marion, I didn't want to interrupt, but I did anyway. So,
no, that's good, and that's not an interruption at all. The other thing is, with these people, there may come a time in the future, if things really go bad, we know we're heading for a storm. We can't be sure how bad it's going to be or when we're going to hit. The worst scenario would be a Nazi Germany kind of situation. The best one would be maybe a soft dictatorship, as they call it, or something like that. But we're heading for tyranny of some kind and persecution of some kind. Now, some of these guys are going to wind up years from now looking back and realizing that my brother, my father, my friend, my neighbor, the kid I grew up in school with got killed by a police state because of what I did. I contributed to it. I've got their blood on my hands. That's a terrible position to be in. And at this point, I want to talk to the cyber warriors and the federal agents that are listening. If you guys wind up in a position like that in the future, please remember, no matter what you have done, God will forgive you if you repent. Turn to God. Ask Him to forgive you. There were people who worked in the Nazi concentration camps, the guards, who did terrible things. And after the war, Corrie ten Boom ministered to these people and led some of them to salvation, led them to the Lord. The man who betrayed her family so that she and her sister went to Ravensbrück, that terrible death camp in Germany, she led him to the Lord before he was executed. So I want you guys to get to heaven. Jesus died to save you, and I want Him to get what He paid for. And I hope you'll turn to Him and that you'll open your eyes and open your hearts and see the truth now before anything bad happens, before you do bad things. But if it doesn't happen now, then I hope it'll happen later, because I want you to make it. Jesus died for you. He loves you. God loves you. And the other thing I want to say is we need to, these guys could be kind of a small lesson in how to forgive, because if things go bad, we're going to have to do some heavy-duty forgiving. And Jesus made it very clear that we have to forgive. As Christians, we have got to forgive. I want to read Mark 11, verses 25 and 26. And when ye stand praying, forgive, if ye have aught against any, that your Father also, which is in heaven, may forgive you your trespasses. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father, which is in heaven, forgive your trespasses. That's a very serious thing. And now here's Matthew 6, 9 to 15, where he gives us the Lord's Prayer, and he ties it in directly, and it's right in the Lord's Prayer, but he also follows it up with this. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. For if ye forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if ye forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. And this came home to me very strongly years ago. There was a man who hurt me so badly that I couldn't even think about him without physically getting sick. My stomach would be in knots and feel nauseous, you know. And I knew I had to forgive him, and I wasn't capable of it. I knew the man needed prayer. I couldn't pray for him because if I thought about him enough to pray for him, I'd get sick. So I asked my friends to pray for him. And then I went to the Lord and I said, God, you told us to forgive. I can't do it. Change my heart. Make me willing to forgive. Make me able to forgive. And it took a long time. I had to keep praying like that for quite a long time. And finally, I really was able to forgive him. And years later, I ran into that man unexpectedly. And when I saw him, I was not upset. And I saw that the man was limping and he was in pain, and I went over to him and I prayed for him. So God completely set me free from that thing. And so the thing is, no matter what we've been through, God can make us able to forgive, and he can make us willing to forgive. And I'd like to pray if I could. Can I pray for folks?
Sure. Indeed you can.
Okay. Well, Lord, first, I'm lifting up everybody here listening that does not know you, the regular listeners and also the cyber warriors and the federal agents. And I'm asking that you will reveal yourself to them, that you will show them that you love them, that they will make yourself real to them, that they'll come to know you and love you and have a relationship with you, Lord, that they would be saved, Lord. We ask for their salvation. And I ask that you give our listeners here, everybody in this Hagmann family, it's like a family. Maybe a lot of people, but I feel like it's family. Give us hearts to love as you love. Change our hearts. Put your love in our hearts. Our love isn't good enough. Our love isn't strong enough or clean enough or pure enough, or we haven't got what it takes, God, but you can put your love in our hearts. That's something Corey used to pray for, Corey Ten Boom. The love of God is shed abroad in our hearts, and we ask that you shed your love in our hearts and give us your love for one another, for you, for the lost, and even for those who harm us, for those who persecute us, Lord, that we would be people of love. You said there abide faith, hope, and love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. First chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, about love. We need to love. And Lord God, we ask that you make us people of great love, people that will be faithful to you no matter what happens, and who will be faithful to one another no matter what happens. And Lord, we ask that when all is said and done, at the end of our lives, we will hear you say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. And you know, that's why, folks, what you just heard, the prayer, the wise guidance, spiritual guidance, I mean, I can't think of anything more important than what Marianne just shared with us, because
and I want to, Marianne shares a lot with us. She sent us some books, one of them being God's Help for Hard Times by James L. Morrison with Maria Nias. And I started reading this book, and it is
isn't it
very, yes, it's very, the way it's laid out, the way that it reads, I mean, it's just amazing, the inspiration and how it really puts the Lord into perspective, from his character to his grace to his mercy to what he can do for us in the here and now, no matter what situation we're in.
Right. Marianne, you've read that book, obviously.
Yes, I have. And I've read everything that Corrie ten Boom ever wrote.
Okay. Wow.
She's a woman who had a lot of love.
And see, a lot of times we miss that because, like we said, like I said earlier, you tend to demonize and dehumanize the people who are taking you to task or who are against you. And you're saying, if I understand this correctly, don't do that. Pray for them.
Right. And you know, Corrie and Betsy, they were sisters. Betsy was able to do that right away when she was in Ravensbrück, in that concentration camp. For Corrie, it was a long, hard struggle before she got to that point. But right away, Betsy saw the guards as being men who were tormented. And her heart went out to them, and she was praying for them. And there's something called the Ravensbrück prayer, which came out of Ravensbrück. And you can see that probably was influenced by their Bible study that they had there in the barracks, you know, where the women lived. The love they had, asking God to forgive the people even before they knew enough to ask for forgiveness. In other words, that his grace would lead them to ask for forgiveness. So when the Russians went into that camp and liberated it, they found that prayer. It was wrapped around a rock, a piece of paper wrapped around a rock to hold it in place and protect it. They found that prayer. The Ravensbrück prayer. You can find it online. Ravensbruck. It's also in that book you mentioned. They have it in there. No, it's in another book I saw. It was in a different book I saw. But anyway, the Ravensbrück prayer. But it's an example, a living example. These people were being tortured. These people were going through things we cannot begin to comprehend and don't want to have to, ever. And they were praying like that while they were in the middle of it. Not after they safely got out of it and had a chance to recover from the trauma, but while they were going through it, they were praying like that. So God's grace is amazing. God's grace is amazing.
And Marianne, this is why I'm glad you called, and because a lot of us are fighting and I'm right in the middle of this too. How in the world, can I pray for someone who is on my butt? I mean, really.
Not only pray, but you have to truly mean it.
Right.
But we can ask God to help us really mean it. We don't have to muscle it up ourselves. We can ask God to give us the heart to do it, to make us willing and able to do it. Willing first and able. He can change our hearts so that we really want to do it. At first, you don't really want to do it. You're just doing, okay, if I have to, okay, well, gee, and then, God, please help me want to do this thing. And then after a while, he changes our heart, and we do really want to and become more and more able. So it can be a process, or else in some cases God could just drop it on you as a sudden thing where you suddenly, your eyes are opened and you see it with His perspective, and you have compassion on these people. That can happen too. I once had an experience where He opened my eyes and suddenly I saw His love for some people, and it was overwhelming. So, and I just got a little tiny taste of it, because more of it would have been more than I could handle. So it was just a little quick glimpse, but He can do that too. So we have to trust that no matter what happens, God told Paul, the Apostle Paul, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. So when things are the worst and we feel most weak and helpless, that's exactly the time when we're going to experience His grace the most, if we're open to it and if we will cooperate with it.
Well, that's the key. If we're open and if we cooperate, and this is why I'm glad that you called and you're sharing this with all of the listeners, because I consider myself kind of a regular guy, and struggling every day with my faith. You know what I mean? Not my belief, but with the practice of my faith and the practical aspects of my faith. Well, I'm glad you called, because you are actually telling us how to overcome that and to practice what we are supposed to be doing, and adding the practical element to our faith here, which I think is so important.
God bless you guys.
Well, God bless you.
I am so grateful that you guys are out there. I can't tell you. It means
Marianne,
so much to me.
I want to say thank you for all you do. Behind the scenes, encouraging messages you send via email or however. You are a inspiration to us, and really, people like you and yourself keep us going and keep us motivated spiritually and in other ways, and we can't thank you enough. And
folks, like I said, Marianne is like the practical instruction manual for the practical application of our faith. And what she said is so important for people to understand, because we can have people like Pastor Langford and Steve Quayle and you name it, quote scripture to us, and that's all fine, well, and good. But when you hear it from Marianne, and you hear, okay, this is kind of like the nuts and bolts of it. This is reality. And I mean, to me, both are important, but I need this little shot of reality, as Marianne put it to us. And that's why it's so important. And God bless you, Marianne. My goodness.
Can I give you a little practical example of how God can just suddenly reach in? I went through a thing where I was having a biopsy for cancer, and they were finding cancer, and it was under local anesthesia, and I heard the doctors talking about it. Now, that's a very scary situation. You're pinned down, and they're talking cancer, and they're cutting on you, okay?
Wow.
And I was on a local because I knew I might need a lot more surgery, and it was safer physically for me to be on a local, and they were able to do it. But they forgot that I could hear, and they're talking stuff that's really scary. And then I remembered the scripture, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. That's in one of the Psalms. So they had music. They were piping in the operation room. I asked them to turn off the music. And then I started singing. And as soon as I started singing worship songs, all the fear just drained away, and I felt this peace. And one of the nurses knew the songs, and she was singing along with me. And I came through that surgery, and I came through the cancer, and I'm a survivor. But, God just drained away all that fear, and the peace just came into that operating room. So, God can do things when you're in very scary situations. He can really come through in ways you wouldn't imagine. And it was because, remember Jesus said the Holy Spirit would recall things to remembrance? Well, he recalled that scripture to my remembrance, and I acted on it. And I'll bet you, I didn't think of it at the time, but if there were people in that operating room who weren't Christians, I bet it did something for them. I'll bet you there was talk in some doctors' offices and in the hospital after that, and some folks might have come to the Lord through it. Who knows? So we just never know. I mean, frankly, if me getting cancer means some of those guys made it to heaven, it's worth it, okay?
Wow, what a wonderful and unusual way of looking at things. And if more people looked at things that way, what a better world we'd have. But boy, that talking about a testament of faith. I mean, for you to even say that to me is like moving at the very least. Wow, it's amazing. I want to thank you, Mary Ann.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. And Joe, I love it when you read scripture on the show and everything. You always do my heart good. If I was a cat, I'd be purring.
Well, thank you, Mary Ann. I got to do that more often. Don't do it enough, and make sure I remember to do that. And God bless you, and thank you so much for the call and your awesome, inspirational message you brought.
Yes, and Mary Ann, have a restful night. God bless you. Thank you so much for your contribution to the program.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. And folks, that was Mary Ann, and she's a wonderful, wonderful help to our program in many ways, and including, as we heard, the practical application of Scripture. And we talk about Scripture.
Yeah, we're almost up against the end of the second hour here. We're going to squeeze in one more phone call and then go to break. Area code 865. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hi, guys. It's Pat calling from Tennessee.
Hey, Pat.
Hey, something exciting's happening here tomorrow, so I wanted to tell you about it. Blount County, it's near Knoxville. They're holding a Second Amendment rally at the county courthouse. And they're calling it a rally with the Second Amendment as the guest of honor. And it's really cool how it happened. There's a local firearms and ammunition supply store owner who he contacted the sheriff's department, and said, come on, let's have this rally and, against any gun control regulation and to celebrate the Second Amendment. And the sheriff's department is all for it. They're supporting it.
Wow.
So, yeah,
now,
it's exciting.
In Knoxville, or?
It's right next to Knoxville. It's called Blount County. It's a county right next to Knox County, which Knoxville is in Knox County.
So if I understand this right, the guest of honor is going to be the Second Amendment. Yes.
And the coolest thing, I'm sorry.
No, I just laughed, and how great is that, really, and to have the sheriff's department of the county behind it, you've got to love it. It's going to be driving some progressives up. Just I can hear the high-pitched screams of the communist progressive people just going crazy.
Well, the best part is this rally was organized by a lieutenant from the sheriff's office named Lieutenant Alley. The county sheriff is supporting it. The mayor's supporting it. The mayor's coming. County sheriff isn't able to come, but he's sending a letter in support. And and state legislators were invited to come. And then there was a quote from Lieutenant Alley who said, a lot of people think that law enforcement is anti-gun, but most law enforcement and most military personnel are in support of the Second Amendment. That's what we swore an oath to protect. And I just think that's beautiful.
Beautiful indeed. Now, how many? Any idea of how many people are going to be attending, or any other details that you might know that you might be able to share?
Well, what the newspaper says, according to their Facebook page, there were 200 people that signed up right away. But I tried to go on the Facebook page and it was shut down. Surprise, surprise. But the newspaper that this appeared in, it's called the Daily Times. It's Blount County's newspaper.
No, go ahead.
It's Blount County's newspaper, the Daily Times, and it was in the Wednesday edition, February 6th. And you can see on the on the front page. You probably can pull it up on the internet where it talks about it. It just says residents speak out against gun control.
Okay. You know what? I'm looking for Blount County for the rally on the internet as you're talking. Here it is right here. The Second Amendment. Okay, this is perfect. So the Daily Times is actually reporting this rally for the Second Amendment. Residents to speak out against gun control, and excuse me, this is going to be held at 345 South Court Street in Maryville. Yes. And okay, this is beautiful, and you're right. Organized by Lieutenant Randy Alley, one of the event's main organizers. So this is fabulous, and it looks like it's got a lot of steam right now building behind it. So, folks, if you are anywhere near Blount County, Tennessee, you've got to show up. What time is this? I don't see a time here.
At noon. It says right in the top. Let's see. It'll take place noon Saturday at the Blount County Courthouse, and it's got the address 345 South Court Street in Maryville.
Okay.
Or they say Maryville.
Okay. Well, this is great, and and you're right. This goes into saying about many people thinking law enforcement is anti-gun, and although some are. Most law enforcement people I've spoken to are the oath keepers, and are people saying, "Well, don't touch the Second Amendment." That's a very thing we swore to. The Constitution is something we swore an oath to protect. So this is fabulous. I'm wondering how many. And by the way, it looks like it's got a resounding positive effect. I'm looking at something here off of a different website, but it looks like it's got a tremendous amount of support. So
terrific!
This is great.
It really is. I can't wait to go.
Wow, this is beautiful. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and of course I'm going to let Lieutenant Alley and other ones know about your show.
Well, thank you very much. And if you don't mind, tell them that we will, in fact, we're going to do everything we can to uplift the sheriff's departments that are favorable to the Second Amendment, the preservation of the Constitution. So they've got our support, and they will have our vocal support throughout as long as we're on the air. So definitely pass that along to them. Pat, we're up against the top of the hour break. God bless you.
Right.
Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
God bless you for everything.
All right. Great news. Folks, you're listening to the Hagmann Report. This is the 8th day of February 2013. What a wonderful way to end the hour. We had Marianne call in, give us practical advice about how we can be better Christians. And, of course, Pat, Blount County, Tennessee, tomorrow, noon, Second Amendment rally. Well, how great is that?
Yep, and just a quick FYI, next week on Thursday, we'll be joined by Nathan Leal for the whole 3 hours.
Or Leal, on how you want to pronounce it.
We'll be right back after these short messages. Stay with us.
Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eileen Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have a long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP brick packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com, or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to add to that the commercial, the sponsorship ad for Freeze Dry Guy. Look, I know the Freeze Dry Guy personally. We've met, we've talked. He's the kind of guy that will assist you any needs that you have. He'll spend time, or one of his associates will spend time with you on the phone. They'll tailor packages to your needs. 6 days left, by the way, of this warehouse blowout sale for 2 great items for your grab-and-go bag. This expires on Valentine's Day. Just for a limited time only, they're offering LRPs. It's really the Rolls Royce of military rations. Low price, convenient, freeze-dried meals, delicious, and absolutely the perfect item for your survival pack or grab-and-go bag. You've got chicken with rice, and you've got this ice cream that I just got to try this just because I'm an ice cream kind of guy. Okay, I love ice cream, and anything that has call me nuts, but any ice cream that doesn't require refrigeration and it's got a 25-year shelf life and is made of natural ingredients, I've got to try. It's $159 a case if you mention Hagmann and Hagmann. The case of chicken with rice is $106 down. It's like $50 a piece off. So give it a try if you're planning your grab-and-go bag. If that's where you're at right now in your preps, give them a try and tell them Doug and Joe Hagmann sent you. Also, I want to tell you folks, the other sponsor, which we just absolutely love these people. I mean, they're part of our family. To get to know them is to love them, and I'm being very serious about this. Grandland Firearms of British Columbia, the salt of the earth people. I mean, these Grandland Firearms, you know what? If you're in need of any hunting supplies, if you're in need of any type of survival gear, give them a jingle. They're up in British Columbia. So you Canadians who are listening to us, let them know that you're listening, that you heard about Grandland Firearms on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. I'm going to tell you, they're going to take good care of you. Carl and his wife, they're going to take good care of you. And if reading about hunting exploits and adventures is if you like doing that, Carl wrote this great book. Just absolutely a tremendous book. And I don't really read nonfiction, things of this nature, but this book was really good. Treed by the River, 2nd edition, with new hunting stories and pictures of cougar hunting on Vancouver Island. It's actually a very interesting book by Carl. But at any rate, check out GrandlandFirearms.com. That's GrandlandFirearms.com. Go to HomelandSecurityUS.com. Click on the link there. It'll take you up to Grandland Firearms. Check out what they have in terms of their stock, what they've got in stock. Look around. Sign their guest book. Tell them the Hagmann and Hagmann Report sent you. And definitely, if you're up close, if you're listening to this, and I know we've got a lot of people in British Columbia, if you're near Campbell's River, British Columbia, the salmon capital of the world, stop in and say hello.
Doug Hagmann, one guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the third and final hour of this Friday, February 8th, 2013 edition. Last hour of the show, last day of the week, in the first week of February already. Time is flying by. We're going to jump into some news real quick and then go back to your phone calls. This, published by the White House, working to counter online radicalization to violence in the United States. The American public increasingly relies on the Internet for socializing, business transaction, gathering information, entertainment, and creating and sharing content. The rapid growth of the Internet has brought opportunities but also risks. The government is committed to empowering members of the public to protect themselves against a full range of online threats, including online radicalization to violence. Violent extremist groups like Al-Qaeda and its affiliates and adherents, violent supremacist groups.
I'm not sure I like your attitude.
Violent sovereign citizens are leveraging online tools and resources to propagate messages of violence and division. These groups use the Internet to disseminate propaganda, identify and groom potential recruits, and supplement their real-world recruitment efforts.
Oh, this does sound like the cyber system, doesn't it?
Although the Internet offers countless opportunities for Americans to connect, it also provided violent extremists with access to new audiences and instruments for radicalization.
And that's what we have to watch. We've got to watch for the accusations of radicalization, which is going to be the next thing, and which is why the revival of CISPA, the revival of the new, the attempts to conform the Internet, too. So, Joe, I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that attempts to coalesce or to group on the Internet, for example, to be sovereign citizens or to be constitutionalists, or maybe sovereign citizens wasn't the right, but to follow the Constitution will be labeled as terrorist, as in the Al-Qaeda vein. So,
yeah, and we look at the Department of Justice memo that was released about the authority to kill people with drones.
Right.
And the vague language they use, basically saying that if you are Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda associated force, an associated force believed to be a danger to the United States, or somebody who commits a belligerent act. And I didn't bring up the audio of Lindsey Graham stating that the U.S. is a battlefield, just so I could prove to you guys what he was saying, because we constantly reference it, but we haven't played it. But now we are into some dangerous territory, as we know from your insider report, what they are looking to do on the Internet. We know firsthand, and we're not the only show hosts that have gone through this. Mancow is one. The Pete Santilli was another one.
Right.
And more have been targeted by who Marianne was referencing, the infiltrators,
right.
the people that try to cause strife, division, and sabotage any show or chat room.
I had no idea, too. Rick Wiles went through this in a big way. He gets into it in the off of our homepage, HomelandSecurityUS.com. If you click on the interview, he gets into it in the interview, what happened to him. He went through 14 months of real trouble because of this.
And notice how it says, in here, we are violent extremist groups like Al-Qaeda and its affiliates, and violent sovereign citizens, and they don't say Christians and anti-federalists in this document, but we know they do in others. We know we're considered extremists. And
right.
I say we, I mean us, the audience. Anybody who shares a belief in Jesus Christ, anybody who is against the New World Order.
But let's stop for a moment there, and let's address the listeners to this program. Joe, do you think that the listeners of this program, if they're just simply listening and they don't have any, maybe at the most they're engaged in the chat room, do you think that they have anything to really worry about?
The people in the chat room?
No, I mean
the listeners?
The listeners and the people in the chat room.
They have something to worry about.
Okay.
Not in the sense that you're talking about, like, because they listen to the show, they're going to be targeted for, a death squad or a drone strike. But regardless if they listen to this show or not, if they can be found to be a Christian or seen going to church on Sundays, it could be cause for an alarm. If they, anybody who doesn't share the views of the New World Order agenda that's being implemented in our country is already listed as an enemy in their lexicons and their law enforcement issued guidelines.
All right.
It does. I mean, you don't even have to be on the internet, obviously. It could be books you buy. It could be what you pay attention to, you know, that could make you on a list that is being monitored. Well, everybody's being monitored in this country and across the world, but what we're really seeing here is them, as they're doing with the drone strikes, trying to justify it and saying it's legal. And with the lexicons and the other publications they put out labeling people who don't like the New World Order as terrorists, labeling people who want to be left alone from the government intrusion as being violent radicals. We see the build-up that they've done with the systematic killings of people who are very vocal against their agenda.
Right.
B, the
wait. Don't go so fast, because people might say, well, no one's really being offed by this administration.
Oh, goodness.
But you know,
I mean, maybe you can't make a case for that, but I mean, we talked about it the other day, from Breitbart to just recently Chris Kyle.
Right.
And people are wondering what is going on. Why are these people being, it seems, taken out when they share one thing in common, and that is opposition to the current leadership's carrying out of their agenda?
I want to say this, and this is something that was not included in my report. You know, when you develop a friendship with someone and you talk and you have multiple conversations over multiple occasions and such, and words get used frequently. It was almost, and I didn't really catch this at first until the last time I talked to this person. He was using Breitbart as a verb, you know.
Yeah, Breitbart.
Right. And you almost take it for granted. Sometimes you just don't hear it, or if you hear it, it just passes. It goes over my head sometimes. And you think, wait a minute. And you have to stop and say, hey, now wait, what do you mean by this? And so the consensus, at least, now he does not have any direct knowledge on this because I did ask him, but the consensus among his associates is that Andrew Breitbart was, in fact, murdered, and how it was done. Listen to this, okay? Now, this is his supposition, okay? He has no proof. I'm going to tell you flat out right now, this is all speculation without proof. It was a binary poison. There was a dinner where Andrew Breitbart attended a dinner thing with heirs. Something might have been put in a beverage, like the first part of a binary poison. Perhaps at that time, again, alleged, nothing confirmed. This is all just rampant rumor, speculation, whatever you want to call it. But think about it. Think about this. Somebody put something in a drink, and then the second part in another drink. And when the two, and the first part does have a life in a person's system for quite a while. So when the two mix, bang. Because and this person also said, my source also said that the appearance is what gave him that idea, the redness as opposed to the bill. And I'm working in EMS. I've never seen a heart attack victim have a red face. Heart attack victims are pale as they're like a white sheet.
And not to mention, one of the people on the coroner's staff that dealt with his body was poisoned, but there was no investigation.
Yeah. So
and we can go through a list of things that are.
But I just wanted to tell people, because it's in casual conversation, and folks, you've been through this too. You talk to people, you develop almost like your own vocabulary. But sometimes you hear words, and it's like, wait a minute, what are you saying? And that's, I just wanted to bring that out. So I kind of got off track there, but okay. But I think it's important for people to know what people behind the scenes are saying. So
no, it is very important to know. And one thing I wanted to get into here is the Pentagon leaders favored arming Syrian rebels. The top Pentagon leader said Thursday that they have favored supplying weapons to rebels locked in a grinding civil war with the Syrian government, a proposition that put them directly at odds with the White House. Find that hard to believe.
No, that is ear.
Well, this is Washington Post.
Ear candy.
Yeah, but the mere fact that admitting that they're playing a role in this is alarming in itself. That they're coming out and saying as much. And how can they say, their decision to arm Syrian rebels was contrary to the White House when the White House and Obama especially moved through a $1 billion taxpayer-funded F-16 and M1 Abrams tanks, a bunch of M1 Abrams tanks and F-16s to the Muslim Brotherhood itself? It's the same difference.
Yeah, and I said this earlier on another program today that we did. On what planet is it okay to arm the Muslim Brotherhood to give them tanks and F-16s where they're going to be used against Israel and ultimately against Israel and American troops?
Yeah,
it just doesn't make much sense. And what you said earlier too about the report going against the White House, the arming the Syrian anti-Assad terrorists was going against the White House. That is completely untrue. We know that. Look, we know what happened in Benghazi. We know that we were arming the anti-Assad rebels. And we also know, too, that compliments of AQIM and Ansar al-Sharia, but specifically AQIM, there is from Africa. And AQIM is a group, by the way, folks, and for the new listeners, I've said this before, a very elite group of terrorists, maybe 300, 400, 500 at most. They subcontract a lot of their work out, but AQIM itself has got maybe, let's say 500 at any given time terrorists. They're big into the drug traffic. So they're taking drugs out of, we'll say South America, funneling the drugs into Africa and putting them into Europe, which they find, wow, that gives them a lot of money, operating capital, and they launder their profits through well-known banks. But what comes this way? What comes from Africa into South America and up through Latin America, up through Mexico and into the United States? Well, could it be perhaps the runoff of some weapons in exchange for the drugs?
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Two more pieces of news, one bad, one good. First, Massachusetts bans travel under state of emergency. Governor of Massachusetts, Bevel Patrick, declared a state of emergency ahead of the severe blizzard expected to hit the area, banning travel on the roads after 4 p.m. until further notice. Not just the governor declared a state of emergency, banned travel on roads at 4 p.m. as the blizzard that could bring nearly 3 feet of snow to the region is beginning to intensify. Patrick said as the storm gains strength, it will bring extremely dangerous conditions with bands of snow developing up to 2 to 3 inches per hour at the height of the blizzard. I got a problem here.
Well, wait, it's for the safety of the children. No, I'm sorry. It's for the safety of the people.
Okay, we live in a snow area,
right? But they're talking about 3 feet of snow.
We've gotten 3 feet of snow in 24 hours, and schools don't even close. And I'm not lying or being exaggerating there. When we got our snow, a couple weeks ago, we got over a foot easily in a night. Schools were not closed.
Right.
So only some on the outskirts of town were 2 hours away.
What's your problem with
the
this?
governor, before the snowstorm has even hit, is telling people they can't be out after 4 o'clock on the roads?
Except for conditions of driving emergency and you have to produce proof, apparently.
Yeah, no. That doesn't fly. I can see if the snow is coming in at 3 inches an hour,
right,
and it happens for more than 1 or 2 hours, them doing something about it. But preemptively restrict the travel of anybody before with just a storm warning. And we're not talking about a hurricane here, a Category 5 hurricane.
Right.
It's absolutely crazy. Patrick further called upon the National Guard, they've already deployed 1,000 members of the National Guard to enforce the ban on the streets.
That's right.
And as many as 5 National Guards are expected to join them.
I'm looking at an email from one source, actually a state police source, who said,
I mean, nobody wants to be out when it's snowing like that.
No, but this guy is state police in the New England area. I'm not going to give any more information than that. It says the use of the National Guard and the implementation of travel restrictions are being input fast and loose, or being done fast and loose by various governors. Watch for more of this regardless of the event. So yes, you're right.
So let's think about this. There have as many as 6,000 National Guard troops implementing the ban of travel after 4 p.m. on roads before snow falls. We talked about where do you draw your line in the sand? Where do you...
Right. Is this where you're going to draw yours?
Well, I don't live in Massachusetts, but if they try to do that here, I'm going to come and go as I please. It is my responsibility to take care of myself. It is my risk if I go out. That's why I have car insurance. I understand that if I were to go out and cause an accident, that it puts other people at danger. But you can't tell a state or a city that people can't leave based on snow. What if they only get? How many times do we get snow warnings for 1 to 2 feet and we get 6 inches?
Of course.
Sometimes we get, they say we're going to get 6 inches and we get 2 feet.
Well, again, I'm just reading this law enforcement officer from New England saying as well, you should see some of the stores up here, empty, shelves empty, panic buying. Never seen anything like this.
No.
And as well, according to what you said too, it's unprecedented, or the travel restrictions are unprecedented, and there's talk about. I'll just say this. There's talk about additional travel restrictions for other purposes and the use of National Guard outside of states of emergency. This is, in my opinion, to condition the people for things to come. And this is a law enforcement guy telling you this.
Finally, this article goes on to state that the penalty, if out during the state of emergency under the Civil Defense Act, is punishable by a $500 fine or a 1-year jail term. I would not, if it were me and there was no snow on the roads, or, it was minimal, and they tried to enforce this now, and they're enforcing it right now, I would go out there, me personally, I'm not advocating anybody else do this, I would go get arrested and I would fight it in court, as they have no right, they have no jurisdiction. I don't care who they say they are, what laws or quasi-fiat laws they're trying to use under the powers of FEMA. This is whether they're using this storm to test their ability to stop, funnel, or stop traffic, stop the flow of people, funnel the flow of people in a martial law type situation, or this is do you think these people really feel it is so dangerous to leave your house that they're going to call it? And did they call it 6,000 National Guard troops when Sandy was coming to make sure people weren't out? And did they call up? I didn't see National Guard troops here on the street when we had snow, lake effect snow warnings calling for 8 inches to 14 inches a day for a week.
Right. No,
it's completely ridiculous.
No, I understand, and
don't put up with it. I wouldn't put up with it.
There's also a financial component to this, as I'm reading here too. There is a financial component because this also, and this not only gives restrictions, but it also provides some monetary relief for budget-strapped counties and municipalities, and this is done once again, according to this law enforcement source. Expect to see more of this in the coming days. So
they're saying work from home. Yeah, what if your job doesn't, you cannot work from home? I mean, it's so ridiculous. I'm going to get into some good news, and then we're going to go to calls. And this is good news. This is out of Fox News. Community rallies behind a homeowner arrested for shooting at a burglar. Residents in a northern Utah city are coming to the defense of a man who was arrested and faces charges for shooting at burglars as they drove away from his property. Layton police arrested Claire Niedenhauser, 64, last week after he fired one shot at a car and another at a fleeing burglar, said Layton Police Lieutenant Sean Horton. He was arrested on suspicion of 2 counts of reckless endangerment. The shots were unlawful because the burglar had dropped a crowbar and was fleeing the property, who added that the shots could have endangered somebody's life. Now, I guess, where is this? Again, Utah? They don't have a castle doctrine law, I'm assuming, just by what I'm reading here.
Right, and people familiar with this, too, if you're a gun owner and if you're familiar with the gun laws, the furthest wall doctrine, you are supposed to, in a lot of states still have this, where if you are in a house, and this is the best way I can explain this, if you're in a house and somebody breaks into your house, you are expected to retreat to the furthest area of the house before you would engage that intruder with lethal force. So to have this person, to have the homeowner shoot at someone fleeing from their house would be considered. In fact, we had this happen in our own hometown where this junkyard was being broken into constantly. Now, you think, well, what do they take from a junkyard? Well, there are certain valuable items that are taken. The owner had sat in a car with a gun, and by the way, had filed numerous police reports and requested surveillance, put cameras up, put fencing up, did everything possible. Finally, this person at their wit's end hid in a car, and sure enough, 3 people come over the fence to steal some things. He engaged these 3 people in this junkyard. They made some pretty provocative moves. This man was armed. He shot one of them, happened to shoot him in the butt, okay, as he was climbing the fence to get away. And he was actually charged. I don't recall what the charge was. It was either reckless endangerment or attempted homicide. It was something that would give him some pretty significant jail time. And the jury, and this is back in the 90s, early 90s, the jury saw through that and said, you know what, we're going to let you go, and we're going to find you not guilty. And there was a big dust up over this, and this is in our hometown. So, yeah, so it's good news that when you've got an elderly man, the victim of a potential burglary, shooting at someone, even though this person might be fleeing, and then the homeowner gets arrested, it's good. You're right, it's good news. I understand, too. I understand oh, boy, I understand. You know, do you shoot at someone who's running away from you? Well, you got to put yourself in the position, I think. You've got to put yourself in the position of that person, the state of mind of that person.
Yeah.
You know, because you are...
somebody break into your house with weapons in the heat of the moment.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not... You can't... I mean, the people were running away. At the same time, the guy's house was just broken into. He felt like his life was in danger.
Don't Monday morning, please don't Monday morning.
I will
quarterback these people.
No, I will say this though: going outside after the people while they're running away, and the guy might be a good shooter, the guy might be a responsible gun owner. He might have made sure, you know.
Well,
but there's always look at Chicago. Look what happens there. In the gun-free zones. At what point, though, how many kids have been murdered because of, you know, people's inability to fire accurately? That always has to be in the back of your mind if you're going to engage someone, especially in the public.
Right. Well, look, here's the thing. It's my view, and I think people have to really get to the point where they understand it's their duty, or it's their right, I should say, it's their right to protect their home.
I want to say this. Hardo Dixie in the chat room makes a great point. I think it was yesterday where they were looking for the owner.
Yeah.
They killed 2 people in a truck. The police did, because they look similar. Something looks similar. The truck looks similar. Something along those lines. But the police killed them.
Wow.
Had no connection to the case.
How does that comport with things? I mean, that's
probably got a pay raise too after they were done.
Wow.
Right.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's terrible.
You know, the one thing that was mentioned earlier too. Folks, let me just remind a public service announcement here. I did get a message from my internet service provider. Anyone who has, we all have the flash players in our computer. I mean, I'm pretty sure y'all do. Make sure this weekend that you download the software patches. Today, for example, Adobe released a patch for the popular web player Flash. This patch fixed 3 serious flaws that could expose your computer to hackers. Now, if you do any online banking, regardless, if you do anything online, even your identity is there on your computer. Make sure you download and update your Flash. If you haven't updated Flash yet, we highly recommend that you do so before doing any more web surfing. And you can download the latest version of Adobe Flash at various locations. Just go to Adobe Flash, type that in the search engine. It'll take you to an update your Flash, because there's programs being affected, in that there is a very big hacking exposure window here to this. I wanted to mention that, but also before we go on, I wanted to mention too the person that they're looking for in Southern California wrote a manifesto. The Unabomber wrote a manifesto, and once again we're back into this mind control topic. I think, and if you look at the shootings of late, I really think we have to very, very carefully address the mind control topic, because this is a real thing that's taking place. Remember what I said about the CIA operation. And if you want to take a few steps backwards, let's look at the entire situation. Let's look at Obama. Let's look at everything that's going on. We are under we are really potential targets for mind control. And there are people, remember what Russ Dizdar said about people all of a sudden starting to shoot. Remember that program? Joe, you remember that. And I thought, when he was talking, I really, it didn't connect with me. But if there are Manchurian candidates, cutouts, whatever you want to call them, who are victims of mind control out there, what's to say they couldn't be activated? Like this guy in Southern California, like the Sandy Hook shooter. I know it's really stretching your mind, or it could be a mind stretch, but I think it's worth investigating, worth the research, and I just want to throw that out there, especially when the word manifesto is used.
Sorry, I thank you, Becca and Snowflower in the chat room. Apparently the cops didn't murder the people. They just shot these innocent people. Los Angeles police say officers guarding a target in an ex-officer's manifesto shot and wounded multiple people in Torrance who were in a pickup truck.
So, okay,
they weren't killed.
Okay. So, but they were shot?
They were shot, right. Yes. As a result of being thought to be this person.
All right, I want to say that. Well, yeah, look.
I mean, I'm thankful that they're not dead.
Right. But, and folks, if you haven't seen this, thank you, by the way, for that clarification.
Thank the listeners in chat. They corrected me.
If you type this into your search engine, FEMA's lethal agenda, the FAA released a new drone list, by the way, and it's an interactive map. the Federal Aviation Administration finally released a new drone authorization list. This list, released in response to EFF's Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, includes law enforcement agencies and universities across the country, and for the first time, an Indian tribal agency in all the agency, or in all the list, includes more than 20 new entities, well beyond the last list offered by the FAA, bringing to 81 the total number of public entities that have applied for FAA drone authorizations through October of this year. Now, some of these new drone licenses applicants include the State Department, get this, where did we hear this before? National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is the NIST organization, remember 9/11, the Canyon County Sheriff's Office in Idaho, and Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, and Grand Forks Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's Department, King County, covering Seattle, and new ones, including Ohio Department of Transportation, Medina County Sheriff's Office in Ohio, Sinclair and Lorraine community colleges. This is the most extensive list, and it's newly released, and it documents the CIA's policy as well on the targeted killing of American citizens on the heels of the news that Charlottesville, Virginia has just become one of the first cities to ban drones. But if you put in the search engine FAA lethal map, and by the way, it appears that we're sitting probably 30 miles away from a drone center. And
that's why I see them flying around all the time.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing. If you now this is, I got to tell you, this folks, this map is not complete according to the information I've got. You've got 30,000 right now flying over the United States. But as I see it, as I'm looking at this, it looks like every state except South Dakota and maybe Iowa, Missouri is represented here with multiple drone bases. So FAA lethal map, just put that into a search engine and you will find it. Let's go back to the phones, Joe.
Yeah. We're going to go to area code 412 first, then to Sheila. 412. We're going to go to area code 412 first. And we hear the delay?
That's right.
Hello.
How you doing? You're on the Hagmann and Hagmann report. What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, what's going on up there?
Steve,
Has the eagle landed? Has the eagle landed?
You know what? The eagle has yet to land, but I'm holding out hope that it will arrive tomorrow, my friend.
Huh.
But I got to tell you, don't worry about it. Don't concern yourself about it, because our mailman has been known to take, shall we say, extended leaves. I have actually. It hasn't arrived yet. I'm not concerned. I will. I'm sure it will be here tomorrow. And God bless you, my friend. You are just a tremendous friend. A tremendous friend for me. By the way, how did I do on Pat Santilli's program?
I thought you were excellent, and everybody in the chat room just was, all positive. They want you back. Pete wants you back. I want you back. I'm sure Joe wants you to go back.
Just push me out the door, actually. But
yeah. Wow, it was great to get that information out there. That's important. And a couple of things that I want to say is I'm working on a slogan here that if you think you've been taken, it's time for you to be awakened. I'm going to put that up. We have a truth center up here, so we're working to put that up on the building here. So what do you think about that? If you think you've been taken, it's time for you to be awakened.
I love it. And we've all been taken.
Yeah. But your show's pretty good tonight too. You guys have been really getting around out there, and that is great because the information is got to go out there. My question is, everything is going to come falling apart rather quickly here. You know it, I know it, and everybody else knows it. Now, once it does, who's going to be in charge? We're going to let these same people that did this to us be in charge, or are we going to quietly go to the concentration camps?
Well, my vote's for you, my friend, Steve. I think we ought to nominate you to handle things. But in absent of that, that
you don't want me to handle things because I would have them. They'd be hung up on all these telephone poles. You know what I mean? There'd be
There's not enough rope and not enough trees. And I say that knowing full well the ramifications behind my words. But seriously, look. I think for a period of time, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be anarchy. It's going to be geographically, we're going to be geographically split, and I think things are going to. It's going to be worse, for example, in the big cities than it will be in the outer lying areas. Remember what Remember the vision of George Washington? All of the cities in flames.
Yeah.
Now, that said, who's going to be in charge? I think there's going to be a period of time in there where no one's going to be in charge, where it's going to be kind of not a Mad Max scenario, but certainly a situation where there's going to be attempted martial law. There's going to be things happening on the federal level, on state levels. I really think the states are probably going to come in and the state governors are going to come in and try to calm things down, and that may in fact ignite a state-to-state war. So I don't know. Do you have any ideas?
I have some thoughts, but I don't think it would be appropriate to. I know I'm already on the list. I don't know. Does AAA have drones? Because I'm waiting for AAA to give me a jump here in my car, so I don't want to push my luck, what I say here.
Well, you're actually in the clear. There's nothing in Pennsylvania, nothing in your area code, let me just say that, or nothing close by you yet. But who knows in flying distance. But no, you bring up a good point. I mean, I think we're all on lists of some kind. And I think we're seeing... Steve, let me ask you a question. Because, folks, Steve served our country. The caller that you're listening to served our country honorably, and is smarter than the average bear. Okay, I got to tell you right now, I know this guy. I know this caller. I like him. He's smarter than the average bear. Where was I? Well, I was going to ask you something. Goodness, no, it just flew right out of my small head here. Okay, I just had a senior moment. Sorry about that. I don't know what I was going to ask you.
Well, in that package that I sent you, I just pulled it up on. I just did a search on it, and
yes, sir.
It's at your post office box.
Oh, okay. We didn't. You know what? We did not check a box today, and there was a reason for that. My wife was tied up. My wife usually checks the box. We'll have it tomorrow.
I sent you up a couple pictures of me, my helicopter in Vietnam, and a couple other pictures of some of the people that I worked with. And when you see these pictures, you'll say, "Wow, I'm just leaving it at that." And when you see these pictures, you'll say, "Wow." And that's back when I was still in my wheelchair. And you could see, like, the wheelchair is right there. And I was with some pretty impressive people. And you'll see, wow, that guy there is, But I'm getting ready to do some legal moves here, Treasonous Act, against some, what the hell, they're going to get it anyway, right? Some local politicians, here in... in the area.
What do you mean they're going to get it? Let's clarify that just in case we've got big ears listening.
Well, they're going to get some paperwork. They're going to get some paperwork for treasonous actions, for violating their constitutional oath. That when they voted for some of these NDAA and these gun ban laws and all this other stuff here, that's a violation. They're supposed to uphold the Constitution. And when they're going against this, it's time for them to be impeached and tried for treason. And when you see them pictures that I sent Jeffrey, you'll say, I think this guy's crazy enough to do it. And, I'm sick enough, I'm crazy enough, and they done took everything else, so, we're going to play. And you'll say, well, I think this guy's going to do it. But,
just to be abundantly clear, once again, for those big ears that are listening, we know they're listening. You're talking about legal action, period, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's exactly it. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm disabled. I can't do anything. I can be out there barking at cars and eating rocks. That's about it, you know what I mean? But my thing is all into the legal field. That's how I work now, Now, 20 years ago, It might have been different, but what are we going to do? We have to grow up sometime and put the big boy pants on, and, sometimes that's what you got to do,
Absolutely, Steve. And you're my...
Oh yeah,
you're my man. I got to tell you, you're my. But I'll tell you what. After in the morning, I'll contact you in the morning, and I'll let you know I got it. And we'll talk off air, my friend. But I want to thank you for your concern. And here's a guy. See, you got to understand, folks. Here's a guy who was tired of seeing something in the background whenever I was on camera. So it's just something to replace that. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you in advance and let everyone know you are truly you served our country well, and I want to say God bless you.
One more thing, Doug.
Yeah.
One more thing. Why don't they bring back the draft? Okay, I'm all for this. Let's draft all these politicians' kids and friends, to fight this war. Why don't we draft, like Chelsea Clinton and Bush's daughters and Cheney's daughters? Let's send all them to the next war, Let's draft all them.
There's no war. There's no declared wars. But you know what, Steve? I like that idea. That's a perfect idea. And you know what? I wonder how many people would continue this vote or continue to be aggressive in this. I love that idea.
I mean, that just came into my head, because we fought the revolution, we fought 2 world wars, and we're not just going to go away and be somebody's slave, I'll eat rocks before I do that. And,
don't want you to be eating rocks that have a tendency to really screw up your teeth. Steve, we got about 3 callers on the line before our show ends. I want to say God bless you. I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay?
Thanks.
God bless you.
Thanks, my friend.
Joe, take care of your dad.
I will do that. Thank you, Steve. All right, we got 6 minutes, hopefully 2 minutes per caller. Caller Sheila, Vernon, then 850. Sheila, you're up first. Thanks for holding. You're live on the Hagmann Report.
He sounds just like my brother-in-law. I called about these cyber warriors, and I read your article, Doug, and it didn't dawn on me till a couple of days ago that all my Christian programming is on high-speed internet. And if they're going to go after the Christian websites, that's what they're going after. All the Christian websites. And why Sky Angel did that, I don't know, because they started out on satellite, but they went high-speed internet, and that's the only way you can get them. If they shut them down, they've shut down a lot of people. They take in a lot of money to help people in disasters and whatnot, raise money for the poor, whatever. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to lose all my programming. I can't get out to go to church because of my health. So I put a lot of stock in that.
Sheila, I don't think they're going to hit the programming as much as they're going to attempt to divert and to marginalize and to mock people who are posting to websites that are favorable to Christianity. Okay, so it's going to be more of an end around than a direct assault on what you're seeing. Okay, so I wouldn't worry too much, at least right now. Although I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Sheila, God bless you. Look, we got to run. I hate to cut you short on this.
Yeah, you're on hold forever. Thank you for your patience. God bless you. Love you. You have a great weekend. Let's go to Vernon. Vernon, you're up. You got. Hold on, bringing him on.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, gentlemen. God bless. Very quickly. How you gentlemen doing? Listen, Joe, you asked me a question in private chat, and to address that, behind a video that was done due to the defamation, I can't get the word out of my mouth, but going against your character, okay, you would have a lawsuit, but it would be rather a weak lawsuit, defamation of character. But I'm cautioning you on this level. They're trying to flush out your source, and that's why that video was done.
Yeah, and we're not looking to take any kind of legal measures, but what we're trying to do is get to the bottom of why.
Right. But I think we're just to the question. I think, Vernon, that's a very astute observation.
That's why I picked up Doug, and I mean his argument on the video was weak at very best. Anyone who knows you, they tracked you, they followed your information, and they know you for real. That's why they follow you. That's why you have the following that you have. Okay? The gentleman that made that video is part of the elite or whoever, or working for them, and they're trying to flush out your source. Don't feed into it. That's number one. Number two, in Pennsylvania, I don't know about other states. I heard you talking about, defense of your home. If you shoot somebody in the back, you can't do it legally. Okay?
Right.
Because they're fleeing from you. A police officer, if somebody is fleeing from them, unless it's in a felony case,
that's correct. They can,
cannot shoot anyone in the back. So
unless it's a felony or someone who's escaping from incarceration.
Exactly. Okay. But for the average citizen, do not shoot anyone in the back, please.
Yeah, that's good advice.
You're absolutely right.
Home, even if they're leaving your home, when it goes to court, and that's before all of this trouble that came about today, if they're leaving your home, the law looks at it as if they're not a threat to you.
Right. You're exactly right, Vernon. And you can't put your fate in a jury that could vote, that could decide either way. But it's just common sense. If you're not in danger, if they're running away from you, don't shoot.
Please. Okay, gentlemen, that's all I want. Look, God bless. I'll be talking to you later.
All right, thanks Vernon. Thanks for understanding on the time factor.
All right, we're going to go to 850. You got a minute and a half. There you go, 850.
Okay, a minute 40. 850, you're up. All right.
So next week, you call, we'll put you up first. We take calls.
I just want to say this. The video Vernon was talking about.
I posted in the chat room.
All right. Yeah, you know what? Look, I would invite Mr. Joel Skousen to come on this program any day of the week.
Yeah.
We will give him all the time he needs.
And I just want to say this. The reason we bring it up, because this is not the first time. He does it.
No.
He's made other videos. He's made claims on other shows, all unsubstantiated. We just want to know why.
Yeah, it's just very quickly.
Don't know the guy?
For the people listening to this on archive or whatever, a gentleman by the name of Joel Skousen, I think he's a World Briefs or something. I don't even know what website. But he's a regular guest on Alex+Jones and other programs. Jeff Rentz has apparently declared war on me somehow for some reason. I don't know what I did, if I slapped his dog or something or what. But essentially, bottom line is just saying that the source that I've got is a fraud. I'm a fraud. The whole thing's a fraud. And the only reason we bring this up, because I really don't like to even address these things, is because of the pervasiveness in which this is taking place. And if you happen to hear it, I get an email.
Don't shoot the messenger. You're just being a messenger from a source to the public. And
he's welcome to come on any time of the program. We'll put him up and let him have a say.
God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for listening. Anybody in the Northeast, stay safe this weekend as the storm is coming. We're keeping you in our prayers, and have a great weekend, and everybody stay safe.
God bless you. Good night.